today to compete in Monday's home run derby in Atlanta. Cruz is the fifth player to commit. The others are Ronald Acuna of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, Byron Buxton of the Twins. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
I feel as if this is a good opportunity against the Diamondbacks. They are still dealing with some injuries to their offense. I mean, their pitching has really let them down. I mean, how many times have I said, maybe this is the series the Padres offense comes to life against bad pitching?
At some point, this team, the way that they've been playing, that's just who they are.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. You might be wondering why I'm opening the show. Well, Jon is out for the rest of the week. He is on assignment. He'll be back next week. So me and Brent are holding down the fort for the remainder of the week. Good show lined up for you today. Andy Halbern of the UT is going to join me at 5 p.m. We have a lot to talk about today. Darvish makes his return. Manny Machado, he makes history last night. We'll get into all of that. We'll go over some scenarios for the trade deadline as well. I want to play a hypothetical, Brent. If the team were to sell, I don't think they're going to, but if the team were to sell, who on this team has the most value? So we'll do that coming up later in the show. We have Incubus tickets to give away as well. So really good show lined up for you guys today for a Tuesday. And last night, there was history in the ballpark with Manny Machado. Darvish returns, but once again, it just kind of all feels flat because the Padres offense, once again, is not doing much of anything. And coming out of last night's game, the story should have been the return of Darvish and Manny Machado getting his 2000th hit. While it's still a big story, the bigger story to me is the way this offense continues to struggle. If Manny Machado weren't here, I can only imagine what this team's offense would look like. He is the constant with this team this year, and everybody around him has just been wildly inconsistent. So the Padres lose game one last night to the D-backs. It's funny, in the open there, Jon is talking about this team's offense, and I mentioned yesterday, at some point in the season, we're just going to have to accept this is who they are, unless there is some big change around the corner, unless there's some, flip of some switch that's going to happen with this team. But to rely on those things to happen, that whatever moves AJ makes and hoping that these guys are all going to click again, at some point, maybe this is just who they are. I hope that's not the case. I really do. But, we are, almost at the All-Star break. And I haven't really seen signs of this team offensively turning things around. Besides Manny Machado and Luis Ariz, who has been hot lately, everybody on this team is just wildly inconsistent. And then they're anchored down by the bottom of the lineup. We'll get into some numbers later in the show, which are pretty ugly with the bottom of the lineup. But, starting with the offense, I feel like that's the first place you have to start with today. Even though I want to start with Manny Machado and his 2000th hit last night, I want to start with Darvish making his return. And don't worry, we'll get into all of that. But the offense is still a major, major problem with this team. Going over some numbers here, it's not pretty, guys. The team's batting .205 with runners in scoring position over their last 48 games. Last night, I felt like things came to a head last night with this team and runners in scoring position. Over the weekend against Texas, they were good. They were fine. Now, if they just had one hit or two hits with the bases loaded on Saturday night, they probably sweep the Rangers. And you know what? If they have a couple hits last night with runners in scoring position, they probably win that game. It's becoming a reoccurring thing night after night after night, where you're just hoping that they can turn a corner, and you're hoping that this team can find their rhythm offensively, but it's just kind of the same old story. Teams, listen to some of these numbers. All right, these numbers, aren't just over the course of the last like 2 or 3 weeks. This is over a long stretch to the point where this has now kind of become this team's identity offensively this year. Actually, not kinda, it is. This is their team identity offensively this season. Listen to these numbers. They're batting .235 with the bases loaded this year. .235. That's 23rd in baseball. If they just were hitting .255 with the bases loaded this year, that's how many more wins is that? I can't say for certain it's like 5 wins, but you would have to think if this team was just hitting .255 with the bases loaded, you could add a couple more wins onto their record. And then you get to, you know, the problems with this team that I see a lot from the fan base, and I get it. Don't worry, I get it. I'm with you guys. The bottom of this lineup is just god awful. I will contest that, you know, you can have a bad offensive hitting catcher and you can still win a bunch of baseball games. And you can have an 8-9 in your lineup that aren't great and you can still win a bunch of baseball games. I think, you know, the struggles from the bottom of the lineup are being looked at because everybody else in the lineup, other than Manny Machado right now, is struggling, you know, in their own right. The bottom of their lineup this year, number 9 hitters on this team, hitting .194. That's 3rd worst in baseball. And then pinch hitting. I know that Mike Schulte the other day said that Trent Brooks was the magic bullet. Well, the Padres pinch hitters this year have been even worse. Their average for pinch hitting this year, 165 with a 480 OPS. Somehow that's 22nd in baseball. I was shocked by that. Like, wait, whoa. Give me the 8 teams that are worse than them. Who's worse pinch hitting than 165 with a 480 OPS? Like, that is crazy to me. And then I think the biggest number, along with the runners in scoring position over the last 48 games, along with this team's batting average with runners in scoring position with the bases loaded, this team continues, besides Manny Machado, to have 0 pop. They have 96 home runs on the year. That's 4th fewest in all of baseball. So, look, I wanted to come on today, and we started the wrap-up show kind of the same way last night. You want to praise Manny Machado, and don't worry, we'll get to all that. We'll hear from Manny later in the hour. We'll hear from Mike Schulte next hour as well, and the accomplishment from Manny Machado. No one loves to praise his team like Mike Schulte. So if you love Mike Schulte praising his team, you'll hear him coming up later in the show. But the main story continues to be the main story with this team, which is this team's offense is not sustainable. And Kyle Glaser was on with us yesterday. He said as much. If this team continues to hit the way they've been hitting offensively, with runners in scoring position, with the bases loaded, just these giant black holes at the bottom of your lineup, you got 5 of your depth pieces. All of them could be a DFA tomorrow, and nobody would miss these guys. I'm talking Maldonado, Diaz, Trenton Brooks, Bryce Johnson, who else we got? Tyler Wade.
Not Wadey.
I know. Schulte would do everything in his power to keep Wade on this team. You know, you DFA those 5 guys like today, nobody's going to miss them. And I'm still surprised AJ Preller hasn't tried to upgrade those positions, because those positions are really bad. And I'm not saying that they're weighing down this team to the point where they're the sole reason why this offense is the way it is this year, but they're also a big part of it. They're an absolute big part of it, coupled with the lack of production at the top of your order with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill. You know, Jackson Merrill, and we'll get to some numbers later in the show today, they're concerning. You know, I'm not at the point where I'm going to say it's a sophomore slump, because I put out the tweet a couple days ago, looked at the numbers, and he was actually worse this time last year through the same number of games than he is right now. Yet he finished last year, you know, and he should have won the Rookie of the Year. But the offense still remains the problem with this team. And until that gets addressed, this team is going to be up and down and up and down. And you just hope that they don't have a bad week, because if they had a bad week, they're going to be, looking at a situation where they're going to probably stay around 500 for the rest of the year. They can't afford that. So the offense is still the issue going forward. And AJ Preller mentioned yesterday, like, they need and they're looking for multiple bats. Can you go out and get multiple bats right now, or can you afford to wait until the deadline? I think that they're going to wait, but at the same time, we all know, and everybody around baseball knows, what the Padres are looking for. And can they, maintain this 7, 8, 6 games above 500 until the trade deadline? I think they can. But like I said, if they had a bad road trip coming out of the All-Star break, or they finished off this homestand not the way that they like, you're going to be put in a position just like they were last year, where they are 500. And then guess what? You're going to have to rip off, a 43-19 stretch to be last year's team. Can you do that back-to-back years? So the offense, it's again, other than Manny Machado, you're looking at some of these numbers, and it's just not good. 205 with runners in scoring position over the last 48 games, second worst in baseball. It does feel a little like deja vu from 2023. I think this team is better than 2023, but the same problems remain, and the same talking points from 2023 are the talking points we're having now in 2025. That team could not hit with runners in scoring position. This team cannot hit with runners in scoring position. That team greatly underachieved. This team so far feels like offensively they've underachieved. Record-wise, they're much better. And they actually, I think, have a better clubhouse and a better cohesiveness with the team. They don't have a bunch of me players on the team. They're not on factions. They're all together. I feel like the clubhouse is not a problem, which is a good thing. But the offense remains something that is going to rear its ugly head for this team. Last night, Zach Gallen's out there. He has the worst ERA among pitchers that are qualified in baseball, and he goes out there and shoves. Over the weekend, Leiter, he goes out there, he looks good. You got this team consistently looking up. It's the 4th or 5th inning. They might have one run on the board, but they're not putting up crooked numbers like they were last year. They're not stringing together, the power of friendship innings. They're not turning the lineup over enough. And that is going to be an issue for this team that, until it's addressed, is going to weigh them down. Thank goodness for their pitching, and thank goodness for their bullpen, because if not for that, it could be uglier. But they just have to make sure they finish out this homestand. I said at minimum 6-4, and you go into the break 8 games above 500, and the offense will be addressed at some point. AJ Preller will address it, but man, it's just, once again, the offense continues to be a major problem with this team. Darvish made his return last night. How did he look? Give my reaction to Darvish. Also later this hour, Manny Machado. 2,000 hits. You're going to hear from Manny on his great accomplishment. And can he reach 3,000 hits? We'll get into all that coming up next right here on Jon and Jim. All right, tomorrow at 6 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760, it's SDFC Midweek Live. Hear from the head coach, Mike Ibarras, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information. SDFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on your home for SDFC, San Diego Sports 760. So I got this tweet during the break, Brent, and it's from one of our loyal listeners, Ted, on social media. He says, I listen to every show and the offenses comes up, on a frequent basis. Who's the hitting coach? Why is he not being replaced as these guys look like they have no passion at the plate? Well, one, thanks for listening every day, Ted. Two, you mean Victor Rodriguez, the same guy that was hitting coach last year for the team that had an offense that was one of the better offenses in baseball? I feel like that's like a default thing for a fan base. Is when a team struggles offensively, the first thing you want to do is, it's the hitting coach's fault. Why is the hitting coach not doing anything? You guys don't think that Victor Rodriguez is trying to help these guys out? Do you think that's something he just stopped doing what he was doing last year that helped, the team completely change their approach at the plate and turn into one of the better offenses in baseball? Or do you think it was the players that are out there every day that are the reasons why this team's offense this year is nowhere close to what it was last year? That's stop blaming the hitting coach for every time this team and offense struggles. Okay. This organization has had too many hitting coaches to even remember. And at the end of the day, it falls on the players. Okay. Do you not think that Victor Rodriguez is trying to help Jackson Merrill get out of his slump? Of course he is. They're trying everything. But you know who it's up to fix that? It's up to Jackson Merrill. It's up to Xander Bogaerts. It's up to Fernando Tatis Jr. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink the water. The hitting coach in this team and giving all of the analytics and, information that they possibly can give them for adjustments. And it's up to the players to actually go out there and execute. Perfect example last night, Xander Bogaerts. It was, I believe in the middle of the game. I forget what inning it was, but 2-0 count. He takes a fastball right down the middle. Next pitch, little outside, swings at it. So he takes the fastball down the middle, but then he swings at a ball. Is that Victor Rodriguez or is that Xander Bogaerts? In the 8th inning last night, bases loaded. Or was it the 7th inning? I think it was the 8th inning. Bases loaded. Elias Diaz at the plate. The guy on the mound for the D-backs can't throw a strike if his life depended on it. But there are now 2 outs, and it's a 2-0 count. Sorry, no, 3-1 count. It's a 3-1 count. In baseball, Brent, what's a 3-1 count? It's a hitter's count. It is like the prototypical hitter's count, especially with the bases loaded. Do you think that pitcher wants to walk somebody? Do you think that pitcher is going to throw a strike there, right down the middle? Or do you think that pitcher is going to walk the 9-hitter to get to Fernando Tatis Jr. with the bases loaded?
Yeah, they're not going to throw a curveball in the dirt. That
odds are he's going to throw one in the zone, right? What does Elias Diaz do? In a 3-1 count with the bases loaded, 2 outs, guy has no command, but the last thing that guy on the mound wants to do is walk the 9-hitter to bring in another run and get to Fernando Tatis Jr., who this year has been good against righties. Not great. He's been good. So what happens? Boom. Hundo down the middle. What does Elias Diaz do? Watch it go by. And a 3-2 pitch, outside corner, which was a ball. What does Elias Diaz do? Swings at it. Is that Victor Rodriguez, or is it that the players at the plate being in between on seemingly like so many pitches? And by the way, even if Elias Diaz swung at that pitch down the middle, the odds of him doing any damage with it, probably very slim. Like you could just tell last night when Elias Diaz comes to the plate with the bases loaded and 2 outs, there's no confidence there. There's no he stood no chance, even though the guy on the mound had no command. Stood no chance.
Well, some of these veterans, the hitting coach isn't going to do a lot. The hitting coach isn't going to do a lot for Manny or, Bogarts or some of these guys that have just been in the league so long that they know what they need to do. And they know when they get into slumps that they pretty much know what's wrong. They just have to, get themselves out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The hitting coach is more for, like Jackson Merrill and the younger players that, they're still kind of learning their way. And when they have to make adjustments, they'll need a little help. But, Bogart should just know better than that. You got a 2-0 count. You should know that you got a good chance that you're going to get something good to hit. And so,
he's just in between so many pitches. The hitting coach can only do so much before, he throws his hands up in the air. Like, I don't know what else I could do. And by the way, again, Victor Rodriguez was the same hitting coach last year for an offense for a team that was one of the better offenses in baseball. So, yeah. All right, coming up next, did not get to you, Darvish. We'll get to you, Darvish, coming up next, and my thoughts on his outing last night. And you'll hear from Manny Machado coming up later in the hour on his 2000th hit. All that right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by RCP Block and Brick. The Padres are back at it tonight after dropping game 1 to Arizona 6-3. First pitch is at 6:40 tonight down at Petco Park. Merrill Kelly is on the hill for Arizona, and Nick Pivetta is going for the Padres. In NBA news, Anthony Davis underwent a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during their season. According to ESPN, Davis is expected to be healthy for training camp. And Pittsburgh Pirates center O'Neal Cruz has accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's home run derby in Atlanta. Cruz will be the 5th player to commit to the event. The others are Ronald Acuna of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Twins. RCP Block and Brick is your #1 source for hardscape and masonry supplies. Their expert team helps contractors and DIYers get the job done right with the largest selection of professional grade products in town. Family owned and trusted since 1947. Start your project today with RCP Block and Brick.
All right, so Darvish making his return last night. That to me, the offense. Yes, we've talked about that. Manny Machado will get to his great accomplishment, but Darvish returning last night is I think the single biggest story coming out of last night's game. The offense has been a problem throughout most of this season, but last night Darvish making his return, 3 2/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. He came out on fire, and he looked really sharp there in the first inning. Very quick first inning, and then you kind of saw the rust with Darvish. But more so, the encouraging things about is that he did at times last night look very, very sharp. And you have to expect a guy that hasn't pitched since last October in a big league game to have some type of rust. And it's Darvish. And you just kind of, believe that Darvish is going to go out there every single time and pitch really well. I kind of thought that he could have at least finished the 4th inning there, maybe got into the 5th inning, excuse me. I think his pitch count was around 75. He got yanked at like 63 pitches. But, all in all, last night I thought was pretty encouraging to see Darvish back out there and at times look really, really sharp. Now, the big test for Darvish comes the next 4 days, because we are now all on how does Darvish feel watch? How does he feel leading up to his next scheduled start? He's going to have another bullpen, which all pitchers have before their next starts. And how does he feel going into that bullpen? How does he feel coming out of that bullpen? And then how does he feel coming out of his next start? And that's kind of where you're at right now, is that you're more nervous after Darvish start than going into a start, because after the start, you want to make sure that he's feeling good. So the next couple days are really big for Darvish. He mentioned last night postgame that he felt nervous going back out there, that, he did feel good to be back. But, the thing with Darvish is he's still kind of nervous to throw that slider, and, with the torque that it goes on his arm. He has a million pitches, but still, I think there is a little nervousness from him to just fully go all out, because I don't know like the full extent of this injury, but missing this much time, he's probably still worried that if he goes out there and he makes the wrong move, that something really bad could happen. And it is kind of walking a tightrope with him because of how old he is, how many innings he's had on his arm. He's not 26 anymore. He's almost 40. So you have to be very careful, and you have to almost treat Darvish with like kid gloves. But all in all, pretty encouraging to see him back out there and look the way he did for parts of last night. The rust is going to be there, but all in all, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 earned runs. He wasn't like hit super hard. He had good life on his pitches. And now we just wait to see how he feels, leading up to his next start.
Yeah, I was surprised about the 5Ks. I kind of was expecting a high walk number just because, like you said, he was going to be kind of rusty, and I was expecting Arizona to just kind of sit there and just take pitches just to kind of see how on point he was just from being off for so long.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing too with just the way that everything was just playing out last night with, it's with his slider, it's kind of, it's in a way, it's like if an NFL player gets hurt, they might be kind of hesitant to go and run on their leg. But once they get tackled and they get hit a few times, they kind of forget about it and they just get back into the rhythm of just playing the game.
Right.
So I think once he just gets like another start, maybe 2, or even just the bullpens under his belt, just to kind of start throwing that slider again, then I don't think he'll worry about it as much. He just has to just throw it a couple times and then realize that, oh, okay, it's, I'm not going to hurt myself every time I throw it.
Yeah. And he has to figure out how to preserve his energy and make sure that, he feels good enough for the rest of the season, because he cannot get shut down again. That's the thing, is he is now back, and you expect Darvish to be out there every 5th day. And that's the plan going forward. If Darvish ends up getting shut down again, that to me signals probably this might be it for you, or close to the end. I wouldn't expect him to come back this year, and the rest of his career would be up in the air. 877-767-4760, 877-767-4760. If you want to weigh in on last night's game, if you want to weigh in on the offense, how you thought Darvish did. But let's go to the phones right now. Let's go to Dave on line 1. Dave, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey there, Jim. I don't know where John is today. Maybe
he's on assignment.
We need to start talking. Huh?
He's on assignment.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he's looking into conference realignment. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
But anyway, having laughed about that, back to Victor Rodriguez. Your points are very well taken. He didn't all of a sudden forget how to coach hitting after having such a successful year last year. It's up to those guys that are in that lineup that we've paid a lot of money for a long time now, to finally start putting up the kinds of numbers that they keep claiming are on the back of their, baseball cards. But let me just say this about the future here. What's key for AJ, whoever he brings in here, ground running. You cannot have any more Adam Frazier's, Josh Bell's, or any of the other types of players that come in here and have no impact. These have got to be impact players that contribute. Don't go into the slump, and we don't want to hear excuses about, well, they need to be adjusting to their new surroundings or any of that stuff. Whoever comes in here, they got to produce something, and something more than what they've got. And I think Kyle Glazer hit the nail on the head. If no matter who they run out there for pitching, they could bring out Steve Carlton, Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, you name it. They're not going to win anything. They're not going to the playoffs with this lineup the way it is right now. I think Kyle Glazer hit the nail on the head with that one.
Thanks for the call, Dave. Appreciate it. 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in on the show today. It's just me and Brent, no John today, so the phone lines are completely open for you if you want to call in and talk some Padres baseball with us. But yeah, look, the moves that AJ Preller makes at the deadline, Dave's right. They can't afford to have the moves just flop, because when you make a move, the whole idea of making the move is for that player to improve the team. And if the player that comes in here that AJ Preller brings in ends up, hitting 230 with like 3 or 4 home runs and 20 something RBIs, I mean, you already have that right now with whatever else you're throwing out there. Maybe not that good, but you get my point. Is they need some type of boost. They need some type of spark. And that's what you're always looking for when you make a trade is you're looking to make a trade to improve your team and for that player to come in and to spark your team to go on a run. And then it falls back onto the shoulders of the star players like Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill and Xander Bogaerts, the $1.3 billion that's invested in this Padres lineup to perform. And then the players that AJ brings in, and then the bench pieces, they're all there to complement your stars. Yes, I do agree that the bottom half of the lineup, or at least the bottom of the lineup, and your bench is a major problem. But do you think we would be sitting here looking at a Padres team 48-42 right now if Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. were, playing better and they weren't guys that are hitting almost 200 for the last couple of months, and Jackson Merrill, a guy that hasn't hit a home run since May 27th? Or would we be saying, well, this team, man, just if they improve the bottom, they could be a real World Series contender? They still need a lot of help from their star players. So, I agree with Dave. Is whatever move that they make at the deadline, man, you just hope that player comes in and really provides a spark for this team. But it's still going to fall on the main guys. All right, coming up next, we have to get into Manny Machado last night. His 2,000th hit, what that means for his career, some insane numbers to go over with Manny Machado. Also, he joins a list that it's a pretty incredible list. We'll tell you that coming up next. You're listening to San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, here's what I want you guys to do right now. Take out your phones. If you're driving, don't do this. But once you get out of your car, or if you're at your home watching on YouTube, or have a radio, take out your phone, download the iHeartRadio app, find San Diego Sports 760, and put us in your presets. Do that when you have time, and preferably do it right now. All right, put us in your presets, San Diego Sports 760, and then you can also put Jon and Jim in your presets as well. Have our podcast readily available to you at a moment's notice. All of the shows is podcasted there on the iHeartRadio app on the Jon and Jim page. So take out your phone, download the iHeartRadio app. If you already have the iHeartRadio downloaded, that's great. Just make sure that San Diego Sports 760 is in your presets, preferably your number one preset. All right, Manny Machado last night recorded his 2000th hit. He also got his 2001st hit with a home run later in the game. But, for everything that Manny Machado has done in his career, and I've been very critical of Manny Machado at times. And don't get me wrong, I've been very critical of Manny Machado over his tenure in a Padres uniform, but there's no denying that he is a future Hall of Famer. There is no denying that he is one of the best players of his era. There is no denying that this guy completely changed the course of the Padres franchise, getting us, deciding like, we're going to sit at the big boy table now. We are going to pull up a chair and we are going to sit at the big boy table and we are going to, compete for the first time in well over a decade plus. And that's what happened when Manny Machado signed in 2019. And now he's at 2,000 plus hits. He's at 300 plus home runs. And the list that he joins is it's an amazing list. Listen to this list. All right. Manny Machado has joined a list of players with 2,000 hits and 350 home runs at the end of their age 32 season. The list is Hank Aaron, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig, Ken Griffey Jr., Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Mel Ott, Frank Robinson, Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, and as of last night, Manny Machado. So if you had any questions about would Manny Machado potentially be a Hall of Famer one day, yada, yada, he's a Hall of Famer if he just continues to play out his career. And you know what? I don't have any doubt that he will, because guess what? All he does is post. He goes out there and plays every single day. He puts up his numbers, and he joins an incredible list of players that I just mentioned. He will be a Hall of Famer, and he will go in the Hall of Fame with the Padres hat on into Cooperstown. It's not, I don't think it's a matter of will he get in? It's just a matter of when he'll get in. Will he be a first ballot? Will he be second? Like, I don't know. And maybe if he got, a World Series under his belt, and maybe if one day he did win an MVP the next couple of years, because he's kind of, at his peak, it feels like right now, but in a couple of years, he'll be his age 35, 36 season. And, it probably won't be as good as he is right now. But the question with Manny Machado for, his Hall of Fame candidacy is not a matter of will he get in. It's a matter of when he'll get in. And I just think that when you look at Manny's career, I saw this discussion today, Brent, best players of their era. Manny Machado doesn't have the accolades that Bryce Harper and Mike Trout have. But you look at the numbers, and Manny Machado, his numbers are very comparable, if not better, than Harper and Trout. And, the only thing that Manny has that Trout and the only thing that Manny doesn't have that Trout and Harper do have is those MVPs. Harper's made a World Series, but guess what? So is Manny Machado. No one has a World Series win. Trout's got the MVPs. Harper's got the MVPs. That's kind of the only thing that Manny doesn't have. But as far as the numbers go, like just looking at the numbers, and we know how baseball is with numbers, that drives their sport. It's all about numbers. Guys can have, guys can play a 5-year career and win 2 MVPs in a World Series, and they're not Hall of Famers because guess what? They don't have the numbers. But Manny has the numbers. And so you look at the best players of their era, I think I'd have to put Manny Machado right now into the group of best players of their era.
Yeah, if you're gonna, field the all era team, the only thing Machado has going against him is he was in the same era as Nolan Arenado. And that's always been his thing. Is it's always, whether it's all-star games or it's always, Arenado's going to start, then you're going to be the guy after him. But
as far as Gold Gloves go in the National League, he's taking all the Gold Gloves from Manny Machado.
Do you think he will get 3,000?
That's now the question: is will Manny Machado reach 3,000 hits? So I'm not good with math. John's not here, so this might be a little difficult.
Neither am I. I did a little guesstimating during the break. And the last few years, he's been getting around 140, 160 hits a season. Mm-hmm. So I met in the middle because, like you said, John's not here, so we're not going to do accurate
It's very
math.
difficult for accurate math on the show.
Don't quote us on our numbers here. We're just gonna guess and round up and down here. So if he gets 150 hits a season, it'll take him about 6.5 seasons to get 3,000. That would put him about 39, 40 years old, which baseball is totally doable, especially with DH. Do you think he's going to do it?
I think he has a very good shot. And the thing with Manny is it feels like his bat, it feels like a timeless bat that it can play until he's close to 40 years old. He is one of the better hitters of his generation. And if he does stay healthy, which, Manny goes out there regardless if he's healthy or not. But if he goes out there and he doesn't have any major injuries for the remainder of his career, I think that he could get very close to it, if not surpass it, closer to the end of his contract. I think you're looking at, I saw Darnay's tweet today, like, give me a date that Manny Machado has his 3,000th hit. I said July 8th, 2025, which is today. But 2032, 2033, I mean, you're looking at probably a year or two in his later half of his career where he might not get to 150 hits. But if he had a season where he had like 185 hits, 190 hits, then that means that you don't have to have 150 hits later in your season because you did that early on and you're just tacking on and the numbers would add out. But I think he has a very good shot to do it. And even if he doesn't do it, he's still a first or second ballot Hall of Famer. So it's not like he has to get 3,000 hits to make the Hall of Fame. He can get close and not go over 3,000 and he's still a Hall of Famer. But just an incredible accomplishment for Manny Machado. And one thing Mike Schultz said, and we'll hear from Mike Schultz later in the show about this, and he's absolutely right. When Manny Machado decided to come to San Diego because he was offered $300 million, way more than the White Sox, he didn't come here for just Eric Hosmer. That started the trajectory of the Padres franchise being at the big boys table and trying to compete for championships. And I think, when you look at all of the things that Manny's done in his career, changing this franchise by signing here, that's the biggest thing is choosing the Padres and making the Padres a destination and a team that is expected to win. All right, coming up next, we have to dive into some pretty ugly numbers with Jackson Merrill. And just warning you right now, they're not pretty. That's all coming up next right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Amazon Prime Day. The Padres are back at it tonight after losing game 1 to the D-backs 6-3 last night. First pitch is at 6:40. It's going to be Merrill Kelly going for the Diamondbacks and Nick Pivetta on the hill for San Diego. Anthony Davis underwent a procedure today he went under a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season, according to ESPN. Davis will be expected to be healthy for training camp. And Pittsburgh Pirates center fielder O'Neal Cruz has accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's home run derby in Atlanta. Cruz is the 5th player to commit to the event. The others are Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, Kyle Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins. If you love deals, you'll love this. Prime Day is lasting 4 days this year. That's 4 days of unbelievable deals in every category you can think of. So you can save big on everything you're into. Shop Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
I feel as if this is a good opportunity against the Diamondbacks. They are still dealing with some injuries to their offense. I mean, their pitching has really let them down. I mean, how many times have I said, maybe this is the series the Padres offense comes to life against bad pitching?
At some point, this team, the way that they've been playing, that's just who they are.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, hour number 2 of Jon and Jim. Andy Halburn's going to join us at 5 p.m. today. Also, we'll hear from Mike Schilt and Manny Machado later in the show. Padres lineup, Brent, is out for today, and there is a change in the Padres lineup. Leading off today is Fernando Tatis Jr. Hitting second is Luis Ariz. Manny Machado hitting third. Gavin Sheets hitting cleanup today. Jackson Merrill moves down to the 5th spot in the order. Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth, Trenton Brooks, and Elias Diaz round out the lineup. But
Wow, look at that lineup.
wow, an amazing lineup. But Jackson Merrill, who was hitting in the 2-hole, got moved down to the 5th spot. And that's by no coincidence, because guess who is really struggling in this lineup right now? That would be Jackson Merrill. You just watch him, and right now it feels like he's going up there knowing like it's just something bad's going to happen. I mean, last night in the 9th inning, he hits one that probably should have ended up being at least a double, maybe even a triple, and is this insane catch in center field by the Diamondbacks center fielder. And it's like, what is this guy supposed to be doing? Now, it's not like he's hitting the ball hard everywhere and he's getting unlucky. He's chasing a lot. He's striking out a lot. He's not hitting for any power. And looking at his numbers over the last 30 games, they're not good. His slash line over the last 30 days is 214. And now this has gone down, but it's 214. All right. He has no home runs. Do you know his last home run, guys, was on May 27th? May 27th. It's June 8th. His last home run. Sorry, July 8th.
That's even worse.
It's even worse. June 8th to be like, that's a pretty bad slump. It's July 8th, and his last home run was in May. That's not good. He has a 285 on base percentage, and he's slugging 287 in his last 30 games with 10 RBIs, no home runs, 33 strikeouts. So he's averaging more than one strikeout per game over the last 30 days. The one thing I love about Jackson Merrill is that he lives and breathes baseball. He is a gamer through and through. He is the definition of a ball player. But also, it's the how much he cares about it that I think is a little bit of a problem right now. I'm not saying he should care less. What I'm saying is it looks like he is so in his head that it is causing a lot of problems with him right now, thinking that I need to chase this pitch outside the zone to make something happen. I need to do this. I need to do that. instead of letting the game come to him.
Yeah, he's pressing.
100%. 100% he's pressing. How could you look at him any other way than say, oh yeah, he's not pressing. He's just getting unlucky. Like, no, the guy is pressing. And when you watch his at-bats, the one thing that he has been struggling with a lot recently is that high fastball. That's been a problem for Jackson Merrill. And his numbers over the course of the season on fastballs compared to his numbers last year on fastballs, you can kind of put two and two together. That's like the reason why he has so far feels like he's had a down year. Last year against four-seam fastballs, you want to know what Jackson Merrill hit? He hit 280. This year against four-seam fastballs, he's hitting 224. The biggest discrepancy in numbers here is his slugging percentage against fastballs last year compared to his slugging percentage against fastballs this year. Last year, Brent, against four-seam fastballs, he slugged 530. That's very good. He's slugging 269 against fastballs this year. That's where the struggles lie. Is he is not being able to hit the four-seam fastball like he was hitting last year. Now, I will say, once again, if you just look at Jackson Merrill's first 60 games last year compared to his first 60 games this year, he has around the same numbers. And he honestly has a little better numbers this year around the same time than he did last year. And he really took off last season in August and through September. His second half after the All-Star break, I mean, he's like a rocket shot out of a cannon. So can he replicate that this year? Can he get to August in the second half? And can he get hot again like he did last year? You know, the thing with Jackson Merrill is it looks like he just needs a week off. Even though he's had multiple injuries this year and he's had a lot of time off, more time than I'm sure he would want to have. But it does feel like he is just dying for some type of reset, like just dying to get out of this slump. And he's trying. There's no question in my mind that he's trying, and he's trying to figure out ways to get out of this slump. But you know, for whatever reason, right now he has been one of at least for the last 2 months, one of the biggest disappointments with this offense. And while this team does need just average players at the bottom, and they just need an average right-handed bat, someone that's better than Trent Brooks, which shouldn't be hard to find, they still need their stars to produce. And Jackson Merrill at this moment in time is slumping in the worst way possible. So he's hitting fifth in the lineup tonight. And hopefully he gets it going, because, you know, they're going to need him. They're going to need him in the worst way, even if they go out and they upgrade to the bottom of their lineup, which they absolutely need to do, because this team cannot continue to go the way it's going with the bottom of the lineup producing the way it's producing, which is they're not producing. Like there's no production there. But even if you go out and get an average player at that position, it will help you for sure, but it still won't fix the problems of Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill. So diving deeper into the numbers with Jackson Merrill, it's pretty evident to me that the fastball has been a problem for him this year. I mean, the dude slugged over 500 against fastballs last year. He's slugging under 300 against fastballs this year. He hasn't homered in over, I mean, we might get to a point where it might be like, hey, he hasn't homered in 2 months.
It'll be Bogarts all over again.
And it's crazy, because the start of the season, we were having conversations of, hey, can this guy hit 30 home runs? Can he hit 35 home runs? And now, can he hit 20 home runs? I feel like if he hit 20 home runs this year, it'd be considered a great season for not having a home run since May 27th and it's July 8th.
You know, I'm hoping that it is something just as simple as, like you said, he just needs a week or so just to reset, which is convenient because the All-Star break's coming up. So he's going to have about 5 days or so that he's going to be able to kind of get his head going and just he'll have his hard reset. And, you know, it's like you brought up earlier, you know, this kid loves baseball. He lives baseball. So,
yeah,
you know, we know that he is constantly at the ballpark. He's constantly watching film and he's trying to he's trying to do everything in his power to get out of it, except lay off the high ones.
Exactly.
That's the main thing that, in my, opinion, between last year and this year is he can't lay off the high ones this year. And, every time they throw him the high heat, he just chases it. He can't lay off of it. It reminds me of A League of Their Own when the one, sister was just like, lay off the high ones. It's like, I like the high ones. It's like, but he just won't lay off them.
Yeah. The high fastball right now is becoming the go-to pitch for opposing pitchers. I would bet a lot of money that in scouting reports, when the pitchers get the scouting reports and they have their, pitchers meetings before games, when they get to Jackson Merrill in the lineup, it's high fastball.
And especially you get ahead in the count, he'll chase it, throw it.
High fastball. He's going to chase. He's striking out a lot. He can't hit the high fastball. And against four seamers this year, I just gave you the numbers. They're not good. Now, do I have confidence in Jackson Merrill? Absolutely, I do. I'm not going to be that person that goes, oh, he signed his contract, so now he's going to suck for the rest of his career. Kid's 22, 21 years old. He's going to be fine. And Mike Schultz said as much last night post-game, which, was refreshing to hear from Mike, that, hey, this is his first real big slump. Everybody goes through it. Everybody. Manny's gone through a long slump before. Fernando Tatis Jr., he's in the middle of one right now. But still, guess what? Barry Bonds has gone through big slumps in his career. Okay. Tony Gwynn, he has gone through slumps before in his career. Maybe not to this extent, but still, you get my point. Every baseball player that's ever played the game has gone through slumps. Some more than others have gone through longer slumps, but still, every baseball player in the history of the sport will go through a slump. And that's what Jackson Merrill's going through right now. And guess what? Every single baseball player, every good baseball player has to do, figure out ways to get out of that slump. That's what Jackson Merrill's trying to do right now. All right, coming up later this hour, we'll hear from Manny Machado. Also, we'll hear from Mike Schultz on the accomplishment of 2,000 hits last night from Manny. But coming up next, the Mountain West Conference, for the final year that it's the Mountain West Conference with teams like San Diego State and Boise State, there might be a big problem brewing here, and we'll get into that coming up next right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
Hey guys, it is Jon and Jim again for the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place, and it is Monday Night Live all July long. Join us every Monday in July, a chance to win big, 10 winners every hour, 7, 8, 9 p.m. Your odds are better than ever. Onyx players will receive an extra $100 cash bonus on top of their winnings. Plus, earn entries all month long by playing and get 2 times the entries on Tuesdays, with at least $500 cash for all winners and a chance to win up to $50,000 in the big deal game. It's a promotion you're not going to want to miss.
And every Sunday, enjoy lobster brunch at Prime Cut. Indulge in a decadent brunch featuring lobster tails and hand-carved prime rib, served every Sunday from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. It's a perfect way to treat yourself to a Sunday well spent.
And catch all the action at Tony Gwynn Sports Pub. Experience the ultimate sports showdown. Catch the Padres in a great environment with great food, Tony Gwynn Sports Pub, where fandom meets fantastic at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is back. Live performances by Bryan Adam, Ed Sheeran, John Fogerty, Mariah Carey, Maroon 5, Sammy Hagar, The Offspring, Tim McGraw, and more. September 19th and 20th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. 2 nights, 1 stage. Buy tickets at AXS.com. Get them now before they sell out. Later in the show today, we're going to give away some Incubus tickets, so make sure you're listening for that. 877-767 4760, 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in on anything we've been talking about today with the Padres offensive struggles, Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, Darvish making his return tonight. We'll hear from Mike Schilt on his thoughts on Manny Machado and his 2000th hit last night, coming up here at the bottom of the hour. But switching gears here a little bit, Brent, earlier today, Ross Dellinger reported, actually this is early this morning when I was asleep, but Ross Dellinger reported this morning the Mountain West has finalized an agreement with Grand Canyon for the school to join the league as a member this fall, a year earlier than anticipated. They'll not play football in the conference. It's only basketball only. It's expected to be added to the Mountain West Conference schedules for the upcoming 2025-2026 season. Interesting, because when Mark Ziegler put out an article earlier today, it did not seem like San Diego State was very happy with the addition of Grand Canyon a year early before that they're leaving the conference. And now it seems like the conference will go back to an unbalanced schedule. Now, Grand Canyon's, as far as the metrics go, is a good add to help your conference and to help your overall metrics as a conference. But San Diego State is also very pissed about it. They said this: while SDSU remains an active member of the Mountain West through June 30th, 2026, the university was not consulted or permitted to vote on the early invitation to Grand Canyon University, which is surprising and disappointing given prior representation the Mountain West and its commissioner made to SDSU and the negative impact this edition will have on already planned athletic competition schedules for the academic year. Quote, we will need to evaluate this announcement and make adjustments due to this addition. Boise State also released a statement saying that they were, quote, significantly and negatively, it will significantly and negatively impact their schedules, opportunities, and budgets of Boise State and other departing universities. In addition, quote, we will address this matter and the harm to the departing universities in litigation. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't think there's much love lost between the current Mountain West and the departing teams, to be honest with you. Like, do you think that they're going to try to do right by those teams that are leaving the Mountain West Conference, or do you think that they're going to try to do what's right with the Mountain West Conference going forward? There is no love lost here. I know that they're still members of the Mountain West Conference, but they're leaving in a year. Like if I was dating somebody and I told this girl, hey, by the way, I'm breaking up with you in a year from now to go to another woman. Do you think that girl's going to be happy with me and be like, oh, that's fine. We'll totally be cordial for the next year. That's okay. No, she's going to be pissed off and she's going to be looking elsewhere. And like, okay, what I got to do? The Mountain West and San Diego State, Boise State, Colorado State, the teams that are leaving, like, do you think that they're all going to just be kumbaya for the next year? Yeah, they're under this contract to remain in the Mountain West Conference. But hey, man, Gloria Navarez and the Mountain West, they have to figure out their next steps as a conference. And Grand Canyon was a school that was already announced to join the Mountain West Conference beginning next year. And then they just moved up and said, oh, by the way, they're going to join us this year. Sorry, guys. Now, I do think it's kind of Bush that, and it is, I understand the anger from San Diego State. If this move was going to happen this year, a year early, and then not be consulted on it while you're a member still of the conference, like, yeah, that's not good. So I get that. Boise State, they're upset too. So this thing could get pretty ugly, but as it looks right now, if I'm just looking at the basketball side of things, and I'm not looking at the money and the litigation process and all that, the basketball side of things, this is going to now move the conference to have an unbalanced schedule for the upcoming year. And from a metric standpoint, this should help San Diego State. Should it not? Grand Canyon's a really good basketball program. They should help the Mountain West Conference as far as metrics go. And that in turn should help San Diego State. San Diego State's expected to be a really, really good team this upcoming year if they stay healthy. Of course, I would want to have a team added to the Mountain West Conference to help my metrics for the final year of their existence as it is right now. The Mountain West Conference is going to completely be changed after next year because of all the schools that are leaving to join the Pac-12. As of right now, I'm very curious to see what the schedule is going to look like and how that affects San Diego State and how it's going to affect the rest of the conference. And if San Diego State's going to get screwed in this because of the scheduling, or are they going to get a benefit from the scheduling? I think if you look at the metric side of things, if you were to say, all right, who would you rather play for a, quote, conference game next year, Air Force or Grand Canyon? Maybe Air Force because that's an easy win, but at the same time, beating Air Force doesn't help you metrically at all. Sometimes it actually hurts you. You play teams like Wyoming, that could hurt you even if you win. It's just a weird thing in college basketball. You can win games, but yet still also lose because the metrics don't help you out and they end up hurting you in the end. So we'll see, but it looks like the Mount West Conference and the departing schools, the Mount West Conference, are not going to end their relationship on good terms.
In a way, it almost comes off as like the Mountain West is just like, look, we can't let any of these schools that are leaving win the conference this year. Bring Grand Canyon in early. They got a good program. They could win the conference. We can't have any of these schools leaving. We don't want them to win conference this year and then, take the proverbial ball and go back, go home to the new Pac-12.
Yeah, I also think that this has to do a lot with money. And the money part of it, which is the litigation part of it, is something that I'm just not going to get into because I'm not well versed in all that. But at the same time, it revolves around money, which, everything in life revolves around money. But if you're just looking at on court, I think it would help San Diego State from a metric standpoint. So we'll see. So Grand Canyon University is a part of the Mountain West Conference for the upcoming season. And we'll see what that schedule looks like when it comes out. All right. Coming up next, Mike Schilt talking about Manny Machado's 2000th hit last night. He said some very interesting things that I 100% agree with about Manny Machado. You'll hear from him coming up next right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. The Padres are back at Petco Park tonight to take on the Diamondbacks after dropping game 1 last night 6-3. First pitch is set for 6:40. It's going to be Merrill Kelly going for the Snakes and Nick Pivetta on the hill for the Padres. In other baseball news, Pirates center fielder O'Neal Cruz has accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's home run derby in Atlanta. Cruz is the 5th player to commit. The others are Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Twins. In NBA news, Anthony Davis underwent a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season, according to ESPN. Davis is expected to be healthy, though, for the beginning of training camp. How many times have we all said, well, that was easy? Well, Staples' easy button is back, and it's got everyone saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos. Plus, quality products delivered the next day to over 90% of U.S. Staples. Well, that was easy.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Annie Heilbrun's going to join us from the UT at 5 p.m. today. I texted her today and I said, hey, Annie, do you want to hop on with me and make fun of Jon because he's out? And she was like, absolutely, I am in. So a little taste of Jon's own medicine there, because every time he texts people that we are friends with, it's always, let's make fun of Jim. Let's make fun of Jim. Let's make fun of Jim. Jim sucks. Jim sucks. Yeah.
To be fair, it is very easy.
I agree with that. It's funny because I can take it. I'm not the type of person that gets like butthurt about things. I usually laugh a lot of things off, and if you can't be self-deprecating, especially in this business.
Oh yeah, in radio you picked the wrong business.
You are definitely in the wrong business for sure. So we'll have Annie join us at 5 p.m. We'll have fun talking to her. Also, we'll hear from Manny Machado later in the show, and we'll get into just a absolutely wild take from a Kansas City radio host about, of all people, Patrick Mahomes. We'll get into that later this hour, but I've been promising you this, and Mike Schilt post game yesterday, for as cringy as Mike Schilt can be, and sometimes I'm just like, this is like nails on a chalkboard. I think that he beautifully illustrated the importance of Manny Machado to this franchise last night post game after he recorded his 2000th hit. Here's Mike Schilt on Manny.
Mike, obviously everyone would have preferred to have seen it in a Padres win, but still a pretty special moment for Manny Machado tonight.
Wow. I mean, literally hats off. It's quite an accomplishment. We can count on not many hands how many people have done that in this game, and to have done it as soon as he's done it in his career, it also speaks volumes, and just what an accomplishment. I'm so happy for him. He's earned it all. This guy's a self-made guy and has extreme talent, but he's also parlayed his talent into a trajectory that's really special, and 2,000 hits is very special. So we're super happy for him, and couldn't be more proud of him.
When you reflect on it, I mean, there's so many things that go into that. There's the excellence, there's the consistency, there's the durability of getting out there on a daily basis like he does. I mean, any one of those things that impresses you the most, or is it the whole package?
It's the whole package. It takes the whole package. I've been blessed to be around some pretty special health and caliber players that do this for a long time, and they have the whole package. It starts with the physical ability. The physical ability is what really separates you as you come up through amateur baseball, and to get into professional baseball, it's a lot of times the physical ability that is a real separator. Then you get to a certain point with your physical ability, and then it gets to be about your mental capacity. And, now it gets to be about how you understand how to play the game. And are you going to be able to, always felt like it starts around AA, AAA. But once you get to the big leagues, if you can't get out of your own way and you can't think for yourself, and you can't see what the team against the way or the guy on the mound's trying to, not going to last very long in this league. You better be super talented. However, when you're super talented like Manny is, and then you're highly intelligent, and then you have the ability to look across the field and see what's taking place and know how they're going to pitch and be aware of situations, where they're going to go at you, where they're going to pitch around you, what they're going to do in certain situations, be able to not only understand what that looks like and still have the physical ability to do it. Now you're looking pretty special. And then the last thing you talked about, which is exactly accurate, the last couple of things really is that they both go hand in hand, and that's the durability and the toughness. In order to accrue numbers that, are 2,000 hits, you got to be on the field. You got to play, and that's why he's a 7-time All-Star. He's on the field a lot. That's why he's accruing big numbers. And toughness is a part of that. It's a mentality. And a wonderful example of that is right after his 2000th hit, the game told him, "Hey, man, we're gonna get a foul ball right off the top of your foot, with a big sinker right on your foot that's fouled off." And then the toughness to finish that at bat, and then it's a homer the next at bat. It's toughness, and not everybody has those combinations of physical ability to get here, the mental capacity to use it, and then the physical toughness to stay in the competition and still perform when you don't feel your best. And that's the trifecta that is a special player.
Your thoughts on you, Darvish, getting back out there? How do you think you look tonight?
Encouraging. Very encouraging. Shapes were good. Talking to Ruben after the game, he was pleased about the shapes, where the ball was coming out. My eye test, it was moving well. Velocity was there. You felt good after the game, felt good during the game. So for him to be able to get that 63 pitches, there's a little bit of stress in there. But, and again, he's only going to get better the more he's out there. But, it was very, very encouraging outing for you, and it's good to see him back out there and see number 11 on the mound for the Padres.
Mike, for Manny to kind of to do it here and kind of the bond that he has with this city, what have you noticed about the way Petco Park seems to embrace him?
This is it's a baseball city. It's turned into a really, 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 one of the better baseball cities and fan bases in all of Major League Baseball. And I shouldn't speak of before I got here, but I was in the league, for a period of time. And there has been a lot of history and success here, with the Padre organization. But the level of consistent engagement, coupled with an expectation of having won and continuing to expect to win, which we have, it started with Manny. It really started with that signing. We spoke a little bit about it before the game. Clearly, that was a salvo to the league that says, "Hey, man, the Padres mean business." The good news is it didn't stop at Manny. Otherwise, it wouldn't be where it's at. But it did start with a premier name in Manny Machado, and it was somebody that the city could get behind, that has some real star power and identity, that had an experience, but also is in that sweet spot of his career where he'd done some really significant things, but still had a long runway of special things to still happen. And he's still on that runway, and that's the good news about it. There's a lot of runway left for Manny, for him, and for us. And that's something that people can get behind. And that's something the city's clearly embraced. And, the last part of that is equally important for my seat, just as a big picture. And I can only expect the organization to appreciate this as well. You got a guy that also is entrenched in the community. This is a guy that lives here. He spent a lot of his time in the off season here. He's established roots here, and then he's also invested his time and his resources in this community. And so you don't have a guy that showed up and said, "Hey, I'm grateful for the big contract. I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to kind of parachute in and out." Rightfully he can go home to his home base in Miami, but point being is this guy's established roots here, and this guy's established community investment, and he's sincere about it. And the thing is there's some forward-facing things that happen that he lends his name to that are important, and then also there's some things that rightfully he does that no one does need to know about, but that he takes care of people and the organization, this community. And then the last piece of it, he's invested in another franchise here, which says a lot. It means a lot that he cares about this city as well. And I think that's super healthy also.
Yeah, I think that's just very well said from Mike Schilt there. The last part where, talking about San Diego becoming a baseball town, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. This is a baseball town first and foremost. And, with the Chargers leaving when they did and the void that was left, it was up to the Padres to go out and grab a hold of that void and really, inject themselves into the conversation of being the number one talking point in town as far as sports go. And that does not happen without Manny Machado. Without Manny Machado, who knows where this franchise would be as far as the, excitement level and, sellouts every night. It all started with Manny. And now, when he signed in 2019 to now in 2025, this town lives and breathes baseball. If you're a sports fan in San Diego, the Padres are the number one talking point in town. And it's great that we've seen this town add professional sports with San Diego Wave and now SDFC and how well they've done. And as Mike Schilt mentioned there, Manny Machado is a part owner of SDFC. So he has really planted his roots here in San Diego. He'll go down as one of the best Padres players in franchise history when it's all said and done, if he stays healthy and stays on the course, and hopefully they win a World Series so he can, bring it the first World Series championship to San Diego. And he just, continues to go out and post and put up his numbers. And when it's all said and done, whether he gets 3,000 hits or not, he will be a Hall of Famer and he will go into Cooperstown wearing a San Diego Padres hat. And I think that's pretty cool to watch in real time a Hall of Fame player for, all of your favorite team. It's a pretty cool thing to watch unfold every single night. All right, coming up next, why is a Kansas City radio host ripping Patrick Mahomes? We'll get into that next on Jon and Jim right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. The devastating Texas floods have impacted countless residents. Families have lost their homes, communities and lives have been shattered, and children are still missing. The need is urgent. The Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country has launched their Kerr County Flood Relief Fund to support response, relief, and long-term recovery efforts. All donations will go directly to trusted local organizations to provide food, shelter, healthcare, and hope. Join us today and donate to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund at communityfoundation.net. So over the 4th of July weekend, as I'm sure everyone does, they maybe go to the beach, or they go on, to a lake, or they just go out and they get out of the house. And that's no different for professional athletes or people that are rich. Like, mostly people that are rich maybe get yachts or boats or whatnot. But Patrick Mahomes, over the 4th of July weekend, as he should, was with his family. He was on a boat, on a yacht, a party, with his friends and his wife in Miami. Nothing wrong there. Nothing wrong at all. Pictures came out of Mahomes with his wife. He had his shirt off. He was in swim shorts. Okay. Nothing wrong. Well, Kevin Keatsman in Kansas City had a big problem with this. The problem that he had was this picture that's floating around the internet of Patrick Mahomes with his shirt off. He doesn't like it because he thinks Mahomes is fat. Mahomes was on vacation. Photos are popping up of him, and he's fat, Keatsman said on a podcast. He said, quote, "I'm going to say it, and I'm going to tell you the truth. That's why you hit the play button. He's an embarrassment. You're a $500 million quarterback. You've made all these comments in the offseason that, quote, we're going to do our talking on the field. We got our butts kicked in the Super Bowl. We're coming back with a vengeance. Dude, you're fat. Your belly would be fat at my pool, hanging out with us 60-year-old kids. Stop the fast food. Do a sit-up. Do something. There's no training to this man. I don't understand it. He's not a kid anymore. You can't just run through your NFL career eating Taco Bell all the time. It's time, dude. It's time." What?
I'm looking at the pictures right now. He's not even fat.
No. That's like I would love to have that body.
Look, it'd be one thing if, like, his whole career he looked like Dwight Howard or something, to where he had like 12-pack abs and it was just like ripped. He's never really, like, physically, he's been fit, but he's never really had that type of physique to where, he went from 12-pack abs to, his, dad bod or whatever they're calling it. But yeah, he's not even that. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Did the Chiefs make the Super Bowl last year? And have they made the Super Bowl 3 of the last 3 seasons? Or am I mistaken here? Have they won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, or have they lost 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls? There's something wrong here. Has Patrick Mahomes won 3 Super Bowls in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform or not? Is he on trajectory to be the best quarterback in NFL history or not? I'm sorry. If you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and if you have a Kansas City talk show and you're criticizing Patrick Mahomes, you just must hate everything. Because you know how many fan bases would die to have the success of the Kansas City Chiefs over the last 5, 6, 7 years? Damn near every single one of them. Coming from a Niners fan, I would love to have Patrick Mahomes on my team. He can be fat and eat Taco Bell all he wants if he's going to take the team to the Super Bowl every single year. Oh, man, being in an AFC title game for the last 6 years isn't good enough, Brent. He's fat. He eats too much Taco Bell.
This is what happens when you go to the Super Bowl every year. You run out of stuff to bitch and whine about, so now you're just gonna go, "Oh yeah, he's fat." This wasn't even like when people like in Dallas are like, "Oh, Luka's fat." I could see that a little bit. Luka looked a little chubby, but Mahomes just looks like he normally does.
Bro, if a star player, I'll use Manny Machado for example. Manny Machado doesn't have the greatest physique in the world.
No.
We've seen him with his shirt off. I've been in that clubhouse before. I've seen Manny Machado. He does not have the greatest physique in the world. If Manny Machado led this team to 2 of the last 3 World Series titles, and he's in his career won 3 World Series with the Padres, and if he was, leading this team to the NLCS for the last 6 seasons and won multiple MVPs, bro, fans would be bowing down on to Manny Machado every single night. You can eat as many cheeseburgers as you want, bro. If you're going to help this team win and take this team to a World Series or Super Bowls and win multiple Super Bowls, bro, have another cheeseburger. Go for it, dude. I mean, this is like one of the most ridiculous takes that you could possibly hear. There's things to criticize the Chiefs over. Patrick Mahomes is not one of them, and especially his physique.
This seems like this should be a Stephen A. / the other guy that screams. I'm forgetting. Skip. This seems like a Stephen A. Skip type of a thing to, I don't really believe that he's fat, but I'm going to go on my show this morning and I'm going to tell everyone how fat he is because it's going to get everyone pissed off. And then they're going to tune into the show to tell me I'm an idiot and I'm going to get clicks. And
yeah, this is 100% a clickbait type of take. And he got what he wanted. I mean, he got a headline and we're talking about it. So I guess this guy wins, but still reading and I couldn't find the audio, but just reading the comments, it doesn't seem like he's doing it just to be like, oh, I have a different take than everyone else. I truly believe that Kevin Keatsman in Kansas City believes that Mahomes is fat. I mean, I'm looking at the photo right now. You've seen it, Brent.
Yeah, he's not. He looks like he normally does.
I don't know, man. I must have a different definition of fat than he does, because to me that looks completely fine. Does he look like a professional athlete in that photo? Not particularly.
Maybe he doesn't not look like one.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He doesn't look out of shape.
Yeah, was Tom Brady the most in shape person ever? Again, he had some crazy TB12 diet plan where he was eating avocados every day and just a bunch of flaxseed oil and just the healthiest stuff you could possibly imagine. But was Tom Brady ripped? No, he was not ripped. Okay. You don't have to be jacked to be a quarterback. I bet you that if you looked at all the quarterbacks in the NFL right now, you're going to find a lot of them that look like Patrick Mahomes. And for someone to criticize Mahomes, saying that he is fat, he's got fat hanging over his shorts, stop eating Taco Bell. Well, man, you must really hate going to AFC title games and watching the Chiefs win every single year. You must really hate watching the Chiefs go to Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Man, must be a really hard life for you as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, because in your mind, Patrick Mahomes is fat. Brent, imagine if he wasn't fat. They would have won the last 7 Super Bowls. It is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing. All right, coming up next, we'll have the wrap.
He's so fat that next season, instead of wearing the flak jacket, he's going to have to wear a girdle.
Right, exactly. All right, coming up next, we have the wrap. Annie's going to join us at 5 p.m. Stay right here on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. The Padres are back at it tonight down at Petco Park. After dropping game 1 to the Diamondbacks 6-3, first pitch is set for 6:40. It's going to be Merrill Kelly going up against Nick Pivetta. Anthony Davis underwent a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season, according to ESPN. Davis is expected to be healthy for the start of training camp. And Pittsburgh Pirates center fielder O'Neal Cruz accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's home run derby in Atlanta. Cruz will be the 5th player to commit. The others are Ronald Acuna of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins. Shop Mattress Firm's 4th of July sale and reclaim your restless nights. Choose from a curated premium selection of mattresses to find just the upgrade you're looking for. Get matched, sleep at night.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
There was history in the ballpark with Manny Machado. Darvish returns. But once again, it just kind of all feels flat because the Padres offense, once again, is not doing much of anything. And coming out of last night's game, the story should have been the return of Darvish and Manny Machado getting his 2000th hit. While it's still a big story, the bigger story to me is the way this offense continues to struggle.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, hour number 3 here on Jon and Jim. Andy Halloran of the UT going to join us at 5 p.m. Mike Schilt talking to the media moments ago. We'll hear from Mike Schilt before today's game. Also, we have some Incubus tickets to give away later this hour, so make sure you're listening. If you want to join the conversation, you can give me a call, 877-767-4760, 877-767-4760. Multiple ways to interact with the show. You can text us, 70470. Start your message with team, or you can interact on the YouTube chat. Just search Jon and Jim 760 on YouTube. The chat is always open. Some days it gets very lively in the YouTube chat. So if you want to,
some days the YouTube chat has a life of its own. It's
correct.
like they don't even pay attention to us.
Correct. So if you want to join us, there's multiple ways. You can call us 877-767-4760. You can text us 70470, or you can join us and watch us on the YouTube chat as well.
All right, talk back if you want.
We have a talk back. We have like 30 ways you can interact with us. That if you can't do one thing, there's like 10 other ways that you can interact. The talk back mic is always open. Just open up the iHeartRadio app, search out San Diego Sports 760, tap on the little red microphone button, leave us a talk back, and we can get your talk backs later in the show. But right now, Brent, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Will Manny Machado reach 3,000 hits?
I want to say yes, and I'm gonna probably say yes, but it's gonna be like a photo finish. I feel like I don't think it's a slam dunk. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility either. It's going to be difficult. He's going to need to, as you pointed out earlier in the show, he's got to average about 150 hits for the next 7 seasons to get there. Can he do that? I think he can. He's going to have to stay healthy. He's going to have to post, but it's going to come down to the wire. I think he could get there, but it's going to be tough.
Pre-DH, I probably would have said no.
Oh, yeah, no way.
But now the ability for him to just transition into DH once he gets older, and the fact of, remember Julio Franco was like, almost 45, and he could still hit? You remember that?
Yeah.
So, I have faith that he'll be in good enough, unlike Patrick Mahomes, he'll be in good enough shape in, once he gets close to 40 that I think he'll still be able to hit. So I think he'll do it.
All right, Brent, next question.
Draymond Green says the new CBA has ruined free agency. Do you agree?
Well, it's hard to disagree when NBA free agency this year has been a complete and utter dud. There has been nothing that has been worth talking about in NBA free agency this year. The second apron is like the big winner of free agency, because it is limiting teams from going out and signing guys to big contracts, especially the restricted free agents. If you're a restricted free agent in the NBA going forward, good luck on getting that big deal, because right now all teams are caring about is staying under the second apron. The other day, Boston, who's their general manager? I'm blanking hard. Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens said the reasons why they traded Porzingis and Holiday wasn't because that they figured that they needed to fix something with their team. The reason and the only reason why they traded those two players is because they wanted to stay under the second apron. Like, that was it. They needed to stay under the second apron. They needed to figure out a way to do it. And trading away Porzingis and Holiday was the way to do it. I kind of agree with Draymond, because it's hard to disagree with when you look at NBA free agency this year and like nothing happened.
My complaint with NBA free agency, and it's been like this for the last few years, is there's every free agency in every sport, you're going to get players that get contracts and big deals that they don't deserve. But the NBA, their contracts are set up to where, there's B-level players that make as much as LeBron, because it's set up to where, nobody can make more than this amount. That's the max that you can get. And it's not like, in football, Patrick Mahomes is going to get more than everybody else because he's better than everybody else at his position. But it seems like in the NBA, it's just like, oh, hey, Bradley Beal, you're a good player. You're not an A-level player.
$80 million.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna pay you like, you're LeBron or Steph, but you're, more like Steph's brother.
Now, I will agree. Like, the NBA free agent crop this year wasn't good. It was, as you said, it was weak. But the restricted free agents on the market, those are the players that are going to be suffering because of the new CBA. All right, next question, Brett.
Will Yu Darvish make all of his scheduled starts for the rest of the season?
I hope so. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, arms crossed, everything crossed, knock on wood, that Yu Darvish makes all of his scheduled starts for the rest of the year. After every start, you're just going to be holding your breath. Now, I did see a video of Yu Darvish today throwing in the outfield. That's a good sign. And hopefully he makes his next scheduled start on Saturday, because they're going to need him going forward. The rotation right now is led by Nick Pivetta. You need to add to the rotation. And if you can add Yu Darvish to the rotation for the rest of the year, it's a huge upgrade. And then if you get Michael King back in August, finally they will have a full rotation, which they were hoping to have coming out of spring training. The whole plan for this rotation coming out of spring training was Michael King, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish, Nick Pivetta. And then we spent like 2 months talking about who's going to be the fifth starter. And ironically, every name that we mentioned has all just put themselves in the rotation because of necessity and because they needed to do it. And they've all made multiple starts. Kolek, Vasquez, Hart. The rotation definitely needs Yu Darvish to stay healthy for the rest of the year. So I'm knocking on wood. I hope it happens. And, knowing Yu Darvish, you just have faith. If he's healthy, he's going to go out there and he's going to give you a quality start. And last night was a good start for you. Hopefully he builds on it, and you trust Yu Darvish because of his experience, and he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. And hopefully that arm stays healthy, because the last thing that this team needs is another injury to their rotation. All right, Brent, next question.
Who will have more home runs at the end of the year? Jackson Merrill or Xander Bogaerts?
Can't believe we'd be asking this question. If you were to ask me, 2 months ago, that question, I'd laugh in your face. But you're kind of looking now and you're saying, all right, Jackson Merrill right now has 5 home runs on the year. Xander Bogaerts has 5 home runs on the year. Xander Bogaerts has 30 RBIs on the season. Jackson Merrill has 29 RBIs on the season. I mean, if you just took away the names and you just put up the statistics, you'd be like, oh, player A is having a better year because their average is better and their OPS is better. But production-wise, Player B, which is Bogarts, same production. I got to go with Jackson Merrill. I have to. I feel like Jackson Merrill is going to find his power again. I want to speak it into existence because it's like you started the season, you're like, this guy's going to have like 25, 30, 35 home runs. Now, if he got to 15, 20, that you'd consider that a good season for him, especially with how much he struggled of late. So I'll take Jackson Merrill just on principle alone. I can't take Xander Bogaerts. I just don't feel like Xander Bogaerts has any power.
Well, it's Jackson Merrill because, say tonight Jackson Merrill hits a home run. Everyone's going to be like, oh, all right, he's back.
He's back.
The first reaction if Xander Bogaerts hits a home run is, oh, wow, he hit a home run.
Wow.
So, yeah. Oh, wow, look at this lineup. So I don't think Bogaerts is going to string enough together that, I think the way he's been going, he'll be lucky if he gets, 12 home runs for the season. And I think that once Merrill gets going, he's going to get him in spurts to where, even if he struggles, I think he'll end up with at least 15.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, coming up next, if the Padres were to sell at the deadline, I'm already telling you right now, they're not selling. Like that, they're not. But there's always a chance that this thing could spiral very quickly. And I get it in my DMs and I get it in my mentions all the time. Who can the Padres need to sell? The Padres need to sell. The Padres need to sell after just one loss to the Diamondbacks. Well, I'll give you who the Padres would have the most value to trade at the deadline. And there's some names that might surprise you that I think would have the most value for this team on the Major League roster right now. That, and we'll hear from Manny Machado coming up later this hour. All that coming up next on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt. You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Get cash now without touching your low rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is truly amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, cut their monthly expenses by $1,800, a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, your home equity, it's yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Call now. Start the conversation. 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Get debt relief now at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with the Bonus Bucks giveaway. Listen for the keyword and enter it at sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 coming up at 5 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Yeah, we could all use $1,000. So make sure you're listening at 5 p.m. for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. We'll hear from Jackson Merrill, who has spoke to the media later in the show, and he's going to join us at 5 p.m. We'll hear from Manny Machado on his 2,000 hit accomplishment later in the show at the bottom of the hour. But right now, let's get back to the phone lines. If you want to chime in, 877-767-4760. Let's get to Matt on line one. Matt, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Jim? Just wanted to talk about the point with Tatis is I think maybe this is an oversimplification, but if Tatis isn't performing at the level that he's supposed to, I mean, I don't think there's really any move that AJ can make that's going to change this team. If you look at the Padres, the majority for the past 10 years, they really became contenders once Tatis emerged. And if he's not performing alongside with Machado, I mean, you can't expect Preller to turn wine into water into wine all the time.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Appreciate it. If you want to chime in, 877-767-4760. I've been saying this, and I agree with you, Matt. You know, AJ Preller is going to make some moves. He's going to go out and get a bat or two, as we heard him say yesterday. And will they help the bottom of the lineup? I hope so. You can't get much worse. But if the team wants to get to where they want to get to, it's going to have to come through their star players. Like, would a couple average bats at the bottom of their lineup help them? Absolutely it would. No one's saying that it wouldn't. But what I'm saying is, along with those bats, you're going to need, and as Matt says, I agree with you, you're going to need Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill. They need to perform. Because if they don't, it's going to just make things very difficult for you as a team to get to where you want to get to. Like I said yesterday, this team is not getting to a World Series or competing for one without Michael King. This team is not getting to a World Series or competing one if Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to hit 200 for you. If Jackson Merrill is going to hit 200 for you with no pop. You know, you can live with guys like Xander Bogaerts doing what he's doing as long as you have other star players in your lineup that are producing, just like last year. Fernando Tatis Jr. in September was fantastic. Jackson Merrill in the second half last year was fantastic. Jurickson Profar put up an all-star season. Manny Machado in the second half of last year was amazing. You had guys that were contributing like Donovan Solano, David Peralta, Kyle Higashioka. You go out and you get average bats to replace the just god-awful bats that you have right now on this team. That will definitely help you, no doubt about it. But to take this team to the level that we all want to see them go to, they're going to also need Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill to really pick it up. Because if those things don't happen, the average bats that you go out and you get to replace the giant black holes that you have at the bottom of your lineup isn't going to take this team to where they want to go. So if they were to hypothetically, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I'll appease all the doomers out there that want to just sell after every single loss. Hypothetically, if they were to sell at the deadline, who would they sell at the deadline? I think the obvious first choice would be Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease is, to me, a player that you can get not like a king's ransom for, but you could get a pretty good haul for Dylan Cease. Everybody's looking for pitching. Everybody needs pitching. And contenders, I think, would view Dylan Cease as a player that absolutely could potentially take them over the top. Now, he's not having a good year, but if you looked at teams in need of starting pitching that are in the race right now, I think you could get a pretty good return for a guy like Dylan Cease. Then after that, I think you also look at Robert Suarez. Robert Suarez
closer. I think he's second in the league in saves this year. Teams need closers, especially contenders. Contenders need closers or bullpen help. The one thing at the deadline that AJ Preller did last year was instead of going out and getting started pitching, because he thought, all right, get Joe back, have King, have Darvish. That's a really good. And they went and got Martin Perez, if you remember, from the Pittsburgh Pirates. And their rotation was pretty decent. He went out and he upgraded in a big way in their bullpen. Got Tanner Scott, got Jason Adam, got Brian Hoeing, and their bullpen was elite at the end of last season. And if they got past the Dodgers, the way their bullpen was pitching, Robert Suarez was much better in the postseason. Like, it's a bunch of what ifs, and I don't even want to go down that path anymore because it just makes everybody frustrated. But Robert Suarez is another guy that I think at the deadline, for all the doomers out there, if they were to sell, could get you something back. Not a lot, but he would be a hot commodity, I think, on the trade market. And then finally, I think the last piece, the last player that could get you something pretty decent in return is Adrian Morejon. He's got a year left on his deal. He's not a rental player, but he's having arguably the best season of his career this year. There was a case that he could be an all-star. Maybe some people are saying that he should have made it over Jason Adam. But when you look at the players on this team that hypothetically, again, for the doomers out there, that could get you something back at the deadline, it's Dylan Cease, it's Adrian Morejon, and it's Robert Suarez. Other than that, maybe Luis Ariz, if you want to just like completely just blow this thing up, which a lot of people want to do sometimes. Those four guys right there, you're not trading Michael King. He's hurt. You're not trading Fernando Tatis Jr. Stop with that. It's not happening. There's no one else. You would love to get rid of the Xander contract. That ain't happening.
Yeah, nobody's going to want that.
But that's for all the doomers out there that want to sell. And of course, if the Padres lose again tonight, I'll get the same comments in my DMs and the same comments in my mentions and, on the wrap-up show and in the chat and on the text line. This team needs to sell. Well, here you go. If they were to sell, those are the players that can get you pretty decent returns on. But you know what? It's not happening. It's not going to happen. I would be utterly shocked, Brent, if at the deadline they sold.
AJ doesn't sell.
AJ does not sell.
He hasn't sold since I've been here. And just off of memory, I don't think, was he the GM when they did their last big fire sale, when they signed all those dudes that one year and then they pretty much got rid of them the following year?
Yeah. He tried the quick fix back in 2014.
Yeah. The year with Fat Kemp.
Right.
Guys.
Yeah. Talk about it. Yeah. Fat Kemp. And then the following year, he said, gutted the whole thing. And he said, all right, we are going to build this from the ground up. And that was really the last, fire sale. But the last time he sold at the deadline. Think about this. The last time he sold at the deadline was 2019.
Yeah. Somewhere.
2018, 2019. And he hasn't sold since. He went aggressive in 2020. He tried in 2021, and that was the Scherzer year. We obviously know what happened in 2022. He fake bought at the deadline in 2023. 2024, we know what happened. So 2025, guess what, guys? He is going to buy. All right, coming up next, we're going to hear from Manny Machado on his great accomplishment last night, getting his 2000th hit. Also, Annie's going to join us at 5 p.m., and we'll hear from Jackson Merrill on his recent struggles in the 5 p.m. hour as well. Incubus tickets on the way. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. The Padres and the Diamondbacks are back at it tonight down at Petco Park. First pitch is set for 6:40. It's going to be Merrill Kelly on the hill for the Diamondbacks and Nick Pivetta going for the Padres. Anthony Davis underwent a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season, according to ESPN. Davis is expected to be healthy for training camp. And Pittsburgh Pirates center fielder O'Neal Cruz has accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's home run derby in Atlanta. Cruz will be the 5th player to compete in the event. The others are Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Twins. Straight Talk might not be in your shopping list, but it should be. Next time you're grabbing some milk off the shelf at your local Walmart, stop by the Straight Talk aisle and switch to real unlimited data. It's quick and convenient. It won't even take up room in your cart.
All right, Andy Halburn of the UT going to join us at 5 p.m. We're also going to hear from Jackson Merrill on his recent struggles in the 5 p.m. hour as well. But Manny Machado, he reached 2,000 career hits last night. Amazing accomplishment, on his way to the Hall of Fame when his career is over. And here was Manny Machado post-game last night to the media on his amazing accomplishment.
Congratulations. Obviously, you'd prefer to have it in a win, but how special a moment was it to reach this milestone?
Yeah, definitely. It's special and, honored to be a part of that list and, accomplish something pretty special. So, definitely would have wanted the victory, but, stepping away from that, it's kind of pretty cool.
Pretty meaningful that you're able to do in front of the San Diego fans here.
For sure. It's awesome. Doing it in front of the home crowd is definitely a lot better. And, hopefully there's more.
Yeah. This is something that only 1% of ball players that ever take the field get a chance to accomplish. I mean, this takes a certain level of excellence. It takes consistency. It takes durability. Which of those characteristics do you think stands out most with you as a whole package?
Oh man, it's hard. I think you mentioned it's hella hard. Trying to get 2 over the weekend or even for a week now. I mean, it kind of makes you realize how hard it is and how hard this game is. And to get 1 hit in the big leagues, it's very extremely hard. And let alone you look up there and you got 2,000 of them. I mean, that right there, you kind of just, kind of notice how special it is and, how special this game is. So, yeah, man, it's pretty cool.
What was it like to see your wife and your son out there when you did that?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was special. I mean, obviously they've been there from day one. So, to be a part of that journey, I mean, it's pretty cool. So seeing them up there and celebrating and kind of taking it in like I did, it's always, special.
Where will you put the ball?
I don't know yet. Yeah, I got it. I don't know yet. I don't know where. I got a few things I got to put up. I don't know where. I got to talk to the boss to see where I can put it.
Are you glad it came at home, 2000?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I wish I would have came a little earlier and not stressed out a little bit too much. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely makes it a lot better doing it in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, what does it mean to you? And everyone gives you a standing ovation, and everyone's just cheering your name as you get that hit.
I mean, it's special. I mean, obviously, it's to do it in front of your home crowd and them to stand up and give you a standing ovation. I mean, it's pretty cool and something I'm never gonna forget.
We're in some pretty incredible company in baseball. I mean, when you look at that list and you see your name, what does that mean to you?
And ultimately, it's like I said before. It's so like this week has kind of make you realize how hard it is to get 1 hit in the big leagues, and when you look up there and you're celebrating 2,000. I mean, it's you want to step back a little bit and kind of just take it in and soak it in. This game is extremely hard, and super grateful that I'm able to even be a part of that list and be a part of this journey. So hopefully there's many more, and it's not over yet.
How much better do you feel at 2,000 hits physically than you did when you got 1,000 hits?
I don't know. I mean, it's just they're different. They're different. They're different moments. They kind of sit in their own places. But definitely doing it at home, I think, makes it a lot more special.
That list is obviously a very exclusive one. There's another very exclusive one that's 999 away. You think you can get there?
I mean, I hope that's the plan. That's the plan. I'm gonna shoot for it. I got a couple more years left here on the contract, so hopefully they come in.
You know, it sounded like it was weighing on you a little bit, but it didn't look like it. I mean, you just kept going out there and having productive at bats and making a difference in these ball games. Is that just experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's about winning the game, right? You go out there and you compete. You know, I mean, we faced some good teams over that stretch, and I just want to go out there and compete. Obviously, in the back of my mind, you know how many you have left to get it and reach it, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I'm telling you, I'm not even lying about it. It was on my mind, and it definitely makes you realize how hard it is to get one.
Have you been able to see all the recognition that, I mean, the Diamondbacks players were clapping. There was other people around the league that have congratulated you on this. What does that mean? You just have your peers kind of know how hard it is for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they all know. I mean, you know, I think everyone that puts on that uniform and steps on that field knows how hard it is to play the game, and it's not easy. So, you know, everyone that steps on that field and has been a part of that journey and a part of that grind knows how hard it is. So, you know, anytime you can be a part of a special moment like that is always special. You know, I remember I was on the field when Jon Beltre hit his 3,000. He hit a ground ball right past me, and you know, I saw his kids run out to center field and unveil, you know, the poster they made for him back there on the wall. So, you know, those are guys that you look up to and you kind of you know, admire. So to be a part of that, I think is special. So, you know, I know for them, some of those guys, you know, it's the same. So, you know, this is all a family. You know, we all know that we put on different uniforms and different faces and go out there and compete against one each other. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, these accomplishments are always, you know, going to be a part of history and going to be special, not just for myself, but, you know, others.
Now that you've reached it, you mentioned it felt like it took longer than you were like. When did you start thinking about 2000? When were you like really aware?
Like really, like 2000? I mean, I didn't even know until I saw I was like 100 away, maybe. Okay. So I knew going into the season how much I was away, but you kind of don't even know. I mean, I didn't even know until a couple weeks ago how far I was. But once it starts getting closer, you start kind of realizing a little bit more.
You said you also started thinking back to your very first hit in the majors. What stands out the most when you think back on that trouble?
It's a lot of hits, man. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of struggles. You know, it took a lot to get here. So, you know, I'm very grateful for it, and I wouldn't change anything in the world.
The game kind of reminded you of that as soon as you get the 2015, that's the next one off your foot.
Yeah, just back to the grind. Right. Back to the grind. Absolutely. Never stops. Yeah. Never stops.
I like that side of Manny Machado. You know, reflective, kind of trying to, you know, living in the moment, understanding just like the accomplishment that he just achieved is something that absolutely needs to be recognized. And, you know, it just brings me back, like Jackson Merrill had a great game earlier this year and they lost, and everyone wanted to talk about his great game. And he goes, I don't care. We lost the game. I don't care what I did. You know, it's yes, you would have loved to have the Padres win last night if you're Manny Machado, but still celebrating what he has accomplished, not just in his career, but this year alone. You know, another all-star appearance. He's starting at third base for the National League. He's now the home run king for the Padres franchise, even though it's not a huge bar to, you know, pass. But still, he's the franchise leader in home runs. He has 350 home runs in his career. He has 2,000 plus hits. He is now a 7-time All-Star, once again starting in the National League at third base. I really liked hearing that side of Manny Machado, being reflective of what he just accomplished, knowing that what he has done in his career is not done by everybody. Like, you want to hear the list again? It's a wild list. And it's a list that tells you Manny Machado will be a Hall of Famer, whether it be a first ballot or not. Manny Machado in his career will become a Hall of Famer. And you just look at this, listen to this list. All right. It's crazy. You have Willie Mays. Hold on, let me pull this up here. So I'm pulling up the list. Give me a second. All right. You got Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig, Ken Griffey Jr., Mickey Mantle, Mel Ott, Frank Robinson, Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, and Alex Rodriguez. Manny Machado joined that list yesterday of players with 2,000 hits, 350 homers by their age 32 season. Like, what? That's crazy. Now, A-Rod will never be a Hall of Famer, but, I mean, come on. Dude's a Hall of Famer. So everybody on that list is in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame other than Alex Rodriguez. So Manny Machado, man, Hall of Famer. 100%. All right, coming up next, Mike Schilt has spoke to the media today, and he talked about the recent struggles for Jackson Merrill. You'll hear what he had to say about that. Annie Halloran will join us at 5 p.m. from the UT. Also, Jackson Merrill speaks about his struggles. You'll hear that later in the show. But right now, Brent, I'm pulling a curveball on you. Caller number 7, 877-767-4760, 877-767-4760. Caller number 7, you want a pair of tickets to see Incubus with Manchester Orchestra at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on Saturday, July 19th. Be caller number 7 right now, 877-767-4760. You'll win Incubus tickets if you're caller number 7. More Jon and Jim coming up next on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Padres D-backs game 2 later tonight, 6:40, first pitch at Petco Park. Annie's going to join us from Petco. I assume she's at Petco, or maybe she's on her way to Petco. Either way, we'll be joined by Annie coming up at 5 p.m. here, and then we're going to hear from Jackson Merrill later next hour on his recent struggles. But today, as Mike Schilt talked to the media, he was asked about the struggles for Jackson Merrill, and this is what he had to say to the media.
You talked about the things that you could do to help Jackson. Was moving him down the lineup one of those things that you were alluding to last night?
It's one of the bigger ones. Just take a little bit off. Just get down a little bit. Don't feel like you got to carry so much at the top. Go down there and be around some other good hitters, and which clearly was the top. But yeah, just not feeling he's got it too much. But quite frankly, it's something that I'm doing. But I really don't have a lot of concern about Jackson Merrill. I love on him, make sure he's doing okay. But Jackson's a really strong-minded kid, and he knows he's a good player. And when you know you're a good player, I think we all have something in our lives that don't always go right. But if you have a good center core of knowing who you are and knowing how you are when you're good, and you have the ability to work towards getting back to that, you're going to ultimately be just fine.
All right. Well, I have no worry that Mike Schilt was going to back Jackson Merrill, because that's what he does. He backs his players 1,000%. But, sometimes you have to look at the lineup and read between the lines, and moving Jackson around. He said, Jackson's in between a couple good hitters. He's in between Gavin Sheets and Xander Bogaerts. So that's better than being in between Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado. I don't know. To me, this is hey, we think you're trying too hard at the top of the lineup. Let's take maybe a little pressure off you and put you down towards the middle of the lineup and see if that could fix some things. Because right now it seems like he is way too in his head. He is swinging at too many pitches outside the zone. And it's showing where he wears his emotion on his sleeve. You just can tell when he is struggling. He's kind of like Fernando Tatis Jr. When Fernando struggles, you see it because his emotions are right there on his sleeve. Jackson Merrill, when he struggles, you see it because his emotions are right there on his sleeve. The care factor is something that Mike Schilt talks a lot about. And sometimes you could try too hard at something. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and let the game come to you. And that's hard for somebody that just lives and breathes and just everything about their entire core is revolved around baseball. It's hard to tell that person, hey, dude, take a step back. Like maybe don't let it weigh down on you too much. And that's just something really hard to tell a professional athlete who cares as much as Jackson Merrill. But there's no denying that his slumping right now is hurting this team in a way. Not saying it's the reason why this offense is what it is, but just imagine him too, but just imagine if Jackson Merrill wasn't in the midst of the worst slump of his career right now. 5 home runs on the season. His last was on May 27th. Like, I was gone. I was in Hawaii. I was out of the state. I was on vacation. So I didn't even see his last home run. So I haven't seen Jackson Merrill hit a home run. And if I'm looking here, the last time that Jackson Merrill hit a home run that I actually saw with my own 2 eyes, because I was gone. I was in Hawaii when he hit his last one. Let me just look here. It's got to be, hold on, May 27th. Oh my goodness. I haven't seen Jackson Merrill hit a home run since May 7th. That's insane. So the last 2 home runs that Jackson Merrill's hit, May 27th, I was gone. I was in Hawaii. And then May 7th at Yankee Stadium. Dude, it's been 2 months. That's crazy. There's no doubt about it. He's got to pick it up. And I hope this move in the lineup helps him. I really hope the All-Star break helps him. And coming out of the All-Star break next week, hopefully he just shuts his brain off takes a week off. Now he's had missed time this year due to injury, and he's stated he hated it. Like, dude, it's okay. Just take a week, bro. It's gonna be okay. They're gonna need him. They're absolutely gonna need him because they cannot have this many struggling players in their lineup and expect to still be 7-8 games over 500 for the rest of the season, to the point where if they continue down this path, they will be inching closer to 500 before we know it. And then you're going to have to rely on this team to go on a crazy run again. Is that really like feasible? Can you really count on this team to go 43-19 if they ended up getting to 500 at some point? Like if they were to get to 50-50, that means they would need to go 2-8 over their next 10 games. Then it's like, all right, well, to get to 90 wins, you're going to need to go 40-22. Good luck. Hey, you need to have lightning strike twice. Good luck. So to finish off this homestand is wildly important for this team. Finishing off this homestand right. Finishing it off no worse than 6-4. I mean, you can go 5-5, all right? But you got a 10-game homestand here. You want to take advantage of it. You want to take advantage of these moments in your season because August is going to be a freaking gauntlet, dude. And we know that this team this year is just not good against teams above 500. And you're facing a bunch of teams above 500 in August. The Giants twice, the Dodgers twice, the Cardinals, the Mariners. Twins aren't really good, but still. They're going to have to figure out a way to get this offense going, because if not, things could get ugly quickly. And if they just had one bad week, then they're looking to climb that hill for the rest of the season. And besides the start of the year, they haven't had a stretch this year where they've ripped off, 9 of 11. They've been a sub 500 team for most of the year, and they are benefiting from the start of the season to where they're at right now, which is 6 games above 500. If they started out the year, Brent, like 2 or 3 games over 500, this team's a 500 team right now or worse. So luckily they had a great start, but they can't just bank on that and have that great start of their season carry them through the entire year. They're going to have another stretch where they play really good baseball and they rip off like 8 of 11 or 8 of 12. Just as Mike Schill loves to say, just win series. Just win series, and guess what? Then you win the World Series. Shocker. You win series, Brent. If you win every single series for the rest of the year, including into the postseason, guess what? You win the World Series. Did you know that?
That sound.
Yeah.
It's just like you score more runs, you're going to win every game.
Right. You score more points than the other team, you win the game.
Oh, you can say that because John's not here.
Right. Exactly. All right. Coming up next, Annie Halburn from the UT is going to join us. Also, we're going to hear from Jackson Merrill. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim.
The sport is sponsored by Amazon Prime Day. The Padres are back at Petco Park tonight to take on the Diamondbacks. First pitch is set for 6:40. It's going to be Merrill Kelly going for Arizona and Nick Pivetta on the hill for the Padres. Anthony Davis underwent a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season, according to ESPN. Davis is expected to be healthy for training camp, though. And Pittsburgh Pirates center fielder O'Neal Cruz has accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's Home Run Derby in Atlanta. Cruz will be the 5th player to commit to the event. The others are Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins. If you love deals, you'll love this. Prime Day is lasting 4 days this year. That's 4 days of unbelievable deals in every category you can think of. So you can save big on everything you're into. Shop Prime Day July 8th through July 11th.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
There was history in the ballpark with Manny Machado. Darvish returns. But once again, it just kind of all feels flat because the Padres offense, once again, is not doing much of anything. And coming out of last night's game, the story should have been the return of Darvish and Manny Machado getting his 2000th hit. While it's still a big story, the bigger story to me is the way this offense continues to struggle.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, final hour here on Jon and Jim. We'll hear from Mike Schilt coming up later this hour, along with Jackson Merrill on his struggles. Right now, we're joined by Annie Halbrin of the UT. I texted you earlier today, Annie, and it was along the lines of, all right, now it's my turn to make fun of Jon while he's gone. And I appreciate you joining me to join in on the fun. So thanks for joining us today, Annie.
Jim, it is great to be with you. Thanks for having me. And yes, I feel like this is your Disneyland right now.
Yeah.
You just get to talk as much trash talk about Jon as you want, who I see has like left you hanging, right?
100%. Yeah. He didn't even really tell me what he was doing this week. I talked to my wife and I was like, yeah, Jon's leaving for the week. And she's like, what's he doing? Where's he going? I'm like, I don't know. It's the classic guys don't talk to guys about like their plans. We just let it go. So I really have no idea what Jon's doing, to be honest with you.
What if we find out that he's doing some like, really crazy thing? Like he's like
skydiving
undercover as like a restaurant, like something or other. I don't know, like here's the thing though, Jim, I will say this, like when you were on vacation, you were tweeting, you were calling in and Jon's just like, I'm MIA. No one knows where I am or what I'm doing.
Yeah. I actually care about the show. When Jon leaves, there is no care factor. He is totally checked out. He doesn't call, he doesn't text, he doesn't tweet. He just doesn't care about the show as much as I do, Annie.
He's probably at like a card show thing. Like is he in the cards right now? He's like 100%. Like he's like trying to like fight some kid for cards right now.
I've seen it. I've seen him at a card show, and he's ruthless. He cuts in line. Yes. He takes cards away from kids. He is that middle-aged 40-year-old man that tries to get the autograph and puts the card in front of the kid's face to get that autograph. That's just the way he is. I've seen
and
it.
And then kicks him in the shin.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, take that.
Yes.
But on a serious note, now that we've got our Jon making fun of Jon out of the way, last night, Annie, great, accomplishment with Manny Machado and Darvish returns. But once again, I heard it in the open there, like the offense to me remains the top story with this team. The lack of offense with this team, and just. When you look at this lineup, I've said, all right, getting average players to replace guys like Maldonado and Trenton Brooks and their awful bench will help. But, and last night it was an extreme because it felt like all the big moments happened at the bottom of the lineup. But the guys like Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Xander Bogaerts, they still need to perform even if they go out and they get those average bats to replace, the black holes at the bottom of the lineup. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I understand the argument about the bottom of the lineup, and I see the stats like everyone else where they are in the league in terms of production with the bottom of the lineup. Of course, you definitely want to improve there if you can, but at the same time, like you have at least 6 guys in that lineup, the top and middle of that lineup, and even I would say sometimes 7 that are either star, superstar, serviceable, above average. They're there for a reason. They're being paid with long-term contracts for a reason. And it's not that they won't slump at certain times during the season. Like, you can't, just because that they're, getting paid a big contract or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're going to perform impeccably the entire season. But there's just been too much inconsistency from that, like, 1 through 6 or even 1 through 7 spot throughout the season. So I do think, and I've had this argument with people here at Petco Park, like, I understand the argument that if you get some guys at the bottom of the lineup, some new players, some average or above average players, if AJ Preller can bring in some new blood, perhaps, maybe it sparks some of these other guys. Like, maybe it, just having another bat or another bat that's hot will spark some of these other guys. I think that that's, though, something that you don't necessarily want to be saying. Like, you just don't want to be in that position where it's like, I hope that, a 7, 8, or 9 hitter can spark our 1 through 6, and
right.
Again, these guys care. It's not that they don't care, and it's not that they're not working. For some of them, honestly, I wonder if, like, the All-Star break will be really good for them in terms of having a break and maybe stepping away a little bit. Even a guy like Jackson Merrill, I think he could maybe use stepping away for a second, because he does care so much. Him and Xander are very similar in that respect, where they're like, they will just keep hitting, keep getting in the cages, keep working. Sometimes you got to step back and just, let go for a minute or two, But I agree with you. I think that you've got to get more consistency from the 1 through 6 guys. And it doesn't mean they're going to be perfect every night, but just more consistency and more slugs for sure.
And speaking of Jackson Merrill, we've talked a lot about him today and his struggles of late. I mean, he hasn't homered since May 27th. I was in Hawaii, so I didn't even see that home run. The last home run that I saw from Jackson Merrill was May 7th. It's been 2 months since I'd seen a Jackson Merrill home run with my own 2 eyes in real time. But his struggles right now, what would you attribute it to the most? Mental, or is it mechanical, or is he still kind of, having the effects of that concussion and he's had some kind of, injuries this year that have kind of snake bit his season a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I attribute it to both. I think it's mental and mechanical, but mental, I think, more than anything, because I do think the injuries threw him off. You get a little bit thrown off of your routine. You get a little bit thrown off of having to then start back up, ramp back up, see the ball better, get those at-bats under you so that you start feeling your rhythm at the plate. And then you start pressing. And then when you're not doing well, you start pressing even more. And then because you miss time, you want to be the hero. I think all of that is adding up for him. I think it's too early to say, like, this is a long-term thing, because we've seen so many good players go through sophomore slumps. And I was one of those at the beginning of the season that said, well, Jackson might go through it, but he's going to, what we've seen from him is that he's able to bounce back pretty quickly, and he's able to make the adjustment. And you know what? It's just taking longer, I think, this time. I do think that he will figure it out. And that's, just knowing kind of the player that he is, and then seeing so many other good players go through the same sort of thing and then bounce, get out of it and be better for it. I wish that they could move him a little bit down in the lineup, but at this point, because of what we just talked about, maybe that's really not a feasible thing for them, because they have so much lack of production also at the middle to bottom of the lineup, right? But I do think that there's like an extra added pressure on him right now that he's putting on himself internally. And it was interesting, Xander Bogaerts was talking about it today. He was talking about Jackson. He was asked about it, and he was saying, the one thing that I don't want him to do is listen to so many voices. He's like, because when you go through these slumps, a lot of people start telling you what they think and how you should approach it and what you should do and maybe what you should tweak and how you should change things. And he's like, that's like the worst thing you can do, is just start listening to everyone, and he said that when he went through this with Boston, because he was really bad his second year, he just hunkered down with Victor Rodriguez, and they kind of went ride or die for him in figuring it out and getting past it. And then he had his best years of his career after that in Boston, right? So I do think it's something that he will get out of eventually. I mean, that's, we don't know for sure, but I would assume that he will. But how long does that take, or will it last the season? That's why I think maybe it'll be good for him to get a little time away during that All-Star break and just kind of reset. I think hopefully that's a good move for him.
One thing that I think should give a lot of people hope about Jackson Merrill and hoping, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel is you just look at his numbers from last year, Annie. Second half, he was incredible. And if you look at his first half last year, he's kind of pacing at the same pace as he was last season, and then he just exploded in the second half and in August and September to really make his numbers look really good. So hopefully that's the same thing with him this year, that he kind of explodes in the second half, because if not, it could be a sophomore slump-ish type of year for Jackson Merrill at the end of the season. Andy Halliburton from the UT joining us here on Jon and Jim. What'd you make of Darvish in his first start last night?
I thought it was good. I thought, so Darvish afterward, when he spoke to the Japanese, he speaks to us first through a translator. And then when he spoke to the Japanese media, he got a little choked up. He got a little emotional, which is so rare for you. You keeps it pretty straight down the line, doesn't really let on to much, but he got a little choked up, and he said several times that he could have given up, but he kept going, and he talked a little bit too in the English portion, or the portion that was translated, about how tough it is, that it's been tough for him, and that constantly, having to think about, is this going to hurt my elbow? That's been on his mind. But one of the encouraging things from last night is the pitches didn't hurt his elbow. He was able to throw the breaking balls, and it didn't hurt his elbow, didn't hurt his arm. So I think that's something that's encouraging. But, you just don't know with him how long, how precarious the situation is. How long can he go? How much can he work himself before he starts to feel some of that pain that it's clear that he's been feeling, not just this year, but maybe for several years now, And here's the thing, okay, now that he's back pitching, I was reading this morning, because there's some things that I forgot about him too, where it's like, this is his 13th MLB season, the most of any Japanese pitcher. This is his 20th professional season. There's so much to be admired about Darvish right now and what he's doing, and the fact that he's going to be 39 years old in August and he's still pitching, and he might have to lower his velocity because of these arm issues, but he's got 8 other pitches he can go to try to supplement that. Because of that, the guy is a wizard. He knows so much about his body. He knows so much about pitching. And Jim, you almost kind of can't appreciate it, because you're wondering, how long is his arm going to last, right? And also, that the Padres are in a position where they kind of need him, and, Michael King's not back yet, and how, what's you going to be able to give you? So there's this dual thing going on, where it's you want to appreciate what Darvish is doing right now, but at the same time, you feel kind of a little bit of tension with the team knowing that, they need him, and that they need to get this offense going to help their pitchers as well.
And it's kind of just a hold your breath with Darvish after every start. Hey, I hope you're okay, and I hope that you feel good. And my guess would be if he ends up back on the aisle at any point this year, that's going to be a real tough situation for you. But we're all knocking on wood. Hopefully he makes every start for the rest of the season, because like you said, they're going to need him. They absolutely need him. And hopefully he goes out there and pitches every 5th day for this team. Andy Halliburton from the UT joining us here on Jon and Jim. If you were to bet right now, would you bet Manny reaches 3K, or do you think it's going to be kind of tough for him?
I would. You know what? I would bet he does. And I think it's going to be really hard. I don't know that many players will do it. He might be the last. I agree that he might be the last player to do it. But he's kept his body fairly, intact. I mean, he's another one that does so much at home, and he's outfitted his home, both in Miami and in San Diego, to have as much as he can in terms of rehabilitation. He's got his own set of trainers and people who work on him, besides also what he uses with the trainers at Petco, and the resources they have here. So I just think that he's also just tried to stay as in tune as possible. Now, that's not still guaranteed. I mean, the game is getting harder and harder, and we've seen that. It's just getting harder to get any amount of hits every year. And even Manny has said, for a guy who's used to posting every season and being there for at least 150, 155 games, even he has had to step back and go, I need to take more days off, or if I get injured, I need to just allow myself to not push necessarily to go out there. But he plays still. I mean, right now he's probably playing through 2 or 3 injuries that we don't really know about. He plays through so much stuff. And he's just a smart player. Nothing is guaranteed, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does make it to 3,000. And then I think that's, probably the end of the rope for some of these guys in terms of being able to hit that number.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, it's funny because we were talking about John at the beginning of this conversation. Like, oh, he's probably like a card shop or something, right? He literally just texted me, Annie. He goes, I've traveled the country and I've reached the Mecca. And he sent me a picture of him at a card shop. So,
I'm telling you, okay? Because,
we were 100% right.
Do we even really know if he traveled anywhere? Like, he might be at a card shop down the street for all we know.
That is a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
He ditched the show to go to card shops for the rest of the week. Annie, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll catch up with you soon. All right.
Anytime. Thanks so much, Jim. Enjoy your week without John, and we'll give him plenty of trash talk when he comes back for sure.
Oh, I'll enjoy the 4-hour solo shows, Annie, for sure.
Nothing like it, right?
Yeah, nothing like it.
You
know. All right, there's Annie right there. Thank you for joining us once again. All right, coming up next, we're going to hear from Mike Schill and also Jackson Merrill on his recent struggles. Also, the back page later this hour as well. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, tomorrow at 6 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760, it's SDFC Midweek Live. Here from head coach Mikey Vares, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information. SDFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. Word is that Darren and Adrian will both be live in studio tomorrow, so that'll be fun to see them tomorrow night, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., one full hour of SDFC talk. SDFC looking to bounce back after their heartbreaking loss on Saturday night at home, where they had a 3-2 lead heading into the 87th minute of the match, and they ended up losing 4-2. Or sorry, 4-3. That's what it was. 4-3. 3-2 lead, 87th minute, 17 freaking minutes of stoppage time. You know, in 17 minutes, something crazy is going to happen. There's no doubt about it. When you put that much time on the clock, and I'm curious to know, because again, I'm still learning the game, and I understand it was because of CJ Dos Santos had to change his jersey because of there was something wrong with his jersey. Again, I didn't watch the whole match, but 17 minutes is a long freaking time, and there was bound to be something wild that happened in those 17 minutes of stoppage time. And guess what? Something did. And they ended up losing a heartbreaker game there. But they have a chance to bounce back this weekend on the road against Chicago. Again, 5:30 kickoff time. Pregame starts at 5 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. And then next Wednesday, they take on Toronto here at Snapdragon Stadium. Looking at the standings, Brent, in MLS, they still sit at the top of the table in the Western Conference with 39 total points, one more point than Vancouver. They have currently the fourth most points in all of MLS. Eastern Conference is loaded. Western Conference, they're still sitting at the top of the table there. Most goals scored in the Western Conference. And if you're looking at the entire league, they have the most goals scored in the entire league, Brent. 44 goals as a team this season. That leads MLS. That is a crazy accomplishment for an expansion team in year number one to lead the league in goals, to be in first place in the Western Conference. They have a plus 15 goal differential, which is the best in all of Major League Soccer. It's just a phenomenal story for a team that I don't think any of them expected to be where they're at right now. You know, they were looking to build and create the foundation of a club that, you know, fans could be proud of here in San Diego to eventually get to the point where they're at now. And they're there in 21 games. It took them 21 games as a club to be the best in the Western Conference and to lead the league in goals scored this season so far. Just a incredible start for this franchise. And I do think we are past the point of, man, what a great start. We are at the point now where it's like, all right, let's dive deeper into this. Can this team go deep in the MLS playoffs? Can they get to an MLS Cup? Can they win an MLS Cup? Are they that good? And I think that if you talk to people in MLS, I think they would agree that they have as good of a chance as any top team in MLS, in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference, to not only do damage, but to win a cup. And to say that in year one of a franchise, I don't think anybody expected that. And if you're asking anybody inside that organization if they expected that in year one, I would bet that they would tell you they did not expect this. So just so far a dream season for SDFC. Hopefully it continues. They had a hiccup last Saturday. Hopefully they can rebound here coming up on a Saturday on the road in Chicago. All right, coming up next, Jackson Merrill on his struggles. You're going to hear from him. He talked earlier today to the media inside the clubhouse. Also, my back page. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. The Padres are back at it tonight down in Petco Park to take on the Diamondbacks. First pitch is set for 6:40. It's going to be Merrill Kelly going against Nick Pivetta. In other Padres news, Robert Suarez is now an all-star. He will be replacing Chris Sale, and he will be going to Atlanta. In other baseball news, speaking of going to Atlanta, Pittsburgh's Pirates center fielder O'Neal Cruz accepted an invite today to compete in Monday's Home Run Derby. Cruz is the fifth player to commit to the event. The others are Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, James Wood of the Nationals, and Byron Buxton of the Twins. Shop Mattress Firm's 4th of July sale and reclaim your restless nights. Choose from a curated premium selection of mattresses to find just the upgrade you're looking for. Get matched, sleep at night.
How about that? Robert Suarez, now an all-star. That now makes 4 Padres that will be heading to Atlanta. Robert Suarez, Manny Machado, Jason Adam, and, oh man, I'm blanking hard. Why did I do this? Fernando Tatis Jr. Yeah, the guy that I didn't think should have been an all-star. That's why I blanked. Like, huh? What? Hey, Fadden, it's okay that Adrian Morejon didn't make the team. You don't need to be upset about it. It's okay. See people right now. Robert Suarez making it over Adrian Morejon is a crime. Is it? I thought, if anything, they were going to put in Robert Suarez over Jason Adam because of his saves. He's second in the National League in saves. But hey, good accomplishment for him. It will just help his trade value come trade deadline. No, seriously, it's 4 Padres All-Stars this year. Did not expect that. Like, I thought 1, 2 tops, but they got 4. And Adrian Morejon probably also deserves it as well. So they got 4 guys that made it, 5 deserving. So there you go. Robert Suarez heading to Atlanta to replace Chris Sale. And I'm sure there will be other replacements coming up in the coming days as well. So maybe Adrian Morejon does make the All-Star team. We'll find out. But right now, 4 Padres All-Stars heading to Atlanta. All right, Jackson Merrill. We talked a lot about Jackson Merrill today. He spoke to the media about his recent struggles in the clubhouse before today's game. Here's Jackson Merrill on his struggles and moving down to 5th in the lineup today.
We talk about it. You know, I don't care. Just put me in there.
How are you feeling physically? You've been on the back couple times this season. Anything like that?
Yeah, man, it's been a long year, but I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses. So it's nothing about injuries.
A couple weeks ago, you tipped your helmet to a guy that robbed you of a home run. It did not look like you did that last night. I'm hoping it was.
Hell no, bro.
You're over that part of it?
Yeah, bro. I mean, like I said, 5 times in 1 week. And that put me at the open 5 yesterday. So, like, not only did I thought I hit it good enough to get out, it got caught too like that. Like, I was in the middle.
You're an extremely confident person. That's part of your game. Same level of confidence right now?
Yeah, I always got confidence. I go up to the plate. But sometimes you just don't feel good. So, you grow out so much confidence you got. If you don't feel good, you gotta keep plugging along.
What have you learned about during the stretch about kind of like this is your first prolonged stretch where you haven't hit as well as you did for most of it? What have you learned kind of about yourself and maybe about the way guys have attacked you?
I mean, I'm missing pitches. That's the bottom line. I'm missing pitches to hit. And the pitches that I usually crush that are in the zone, I'm not hitting them. I'm hitting foul balls. Or I'm whiffing. So the bottom line is just missing those pitches that are in the zone. Yeah, I'm chasing the ball, but like I'm missing the pitches I can't hit before I swing at the pitches I can't hit. So. Yeah.
How much of it do you think is mechanical versus just swing decisions?
I don't know, man. I stopped thinking about it. Just the hardest thing is to stop thinking. So go up there and play the game like I always have.
You have to get through this homestand a few more games, but how much are you looking forward to just getting a break and just a complete reset, a few days off?
I don't want a break. I never want a break. Especially right now, like having to find it in the next week and then we go on break. Like, I'd rather just keep playing when you got it. So, yeah.
How do you think James Wood's going to do in the home run derby?
Yeah, I hope he wins it. No, he's a beast. He should have fun, too. So it'll be awesome to watch.
Manny said last night it's hard to get one hit sometimes in this game, much less 2,000. Just from your perspective as a young player watching Manny get 2,000 hits.
Yeah, it's dope. Really proud of him. Thankful to be in the same room as him, too. It's good to watch him lead by example.
Man, I love Jackson Merrill, but bro, chill out, dude. It's okay. I don't want to break. We know you want to live at the ballpark. I do appreciate his no excuse mentality. And sometimes baseball, even with all of the analytics that it has and all the numbers and how the sport has become just as analytically driven as any sport in the world, sometimes it's as simple as I'm just missing pitches to hit. I am not hitting pitches that I usually hit. And the pitches that I usually drive and hit out the ballpark for power, I am not hitting those. I am just missing. You know, that's as simple as you could put it with Jackson Miller right now. He is just missing pitches that he has hit in the past. Doesn't have a huge sample size, but I read it earlier in the show today. Jackson Merrill against fastballs last year, a slugging percentage of .530. Jackson Merrill this year against four-seam fastballs, slugging percentage in the 200s. That for him has been the biggest problem, hitting the fastball. One player that has hit the fastball this year, Manny Machado, last night, 2,000 career hits. Cherry on top, his 2001st career hit was a home run. He joined some elite class. He is a bona fide, on his way Hall of Famer. And this team needs to help him out. You know, this team is really testing the theory of as Manny goes, the team goes. But I could also say without Manny Machado, they are nowhere close to the record they have now, 48-42. So maybe that still is true. As Manny goes, the team goes. Not to the extent of like 43-19, like they were in the second half last year, but still, without Manny Machado this season in the first half, they are not anywhere close to 6 games above 500. If anything, they're probably 6 games under 500, maybe worse. So I do feel like the as Manny goes, the team goes narrative still applies to this team this year. Maybe not to the extent of when he's hot or if he's having an all-star first half, the team is, one of the better teams in baseball. They're still a good team. They're not a bad team, even though they've played below average baseball for the last 2.5 months. Their record would state they're still a good team. And that is a question that you have to ask yourself. Is this team a good team by just looking at their record? Or are they, if you look at the last 2 months, they're closer to that than the 48-42 record. They're closer to a sub 500 team than they are to a 48-42 team. I think that's not, crazy to think that, hey, while the record remains good enough right now, they aren't a good team because of the last 2.5 months, their record's below 500. But to think where they would be without Manny Machado this year, I actually really don't want to think that because it would not be pretty. But amazing accomplishment for him last night. When does he get 3,000? Does he get 3,000? Will he get 3,000? Is now the next question. And going forward, I think he has a good shot. Do I think he gets there? In the end, it's going to be tough. But I do think his bat plays, and with the DH in the National League, 4 years, 3-4 years from now, guess what? He's an everyday DH. And that bat will play for a long time. Miguel Cabrera, kind of perfect example. Now, Miguel Cabrera, I think, is a better hitter overall than Manny Machado is. But at the same time, look at Cabrera's career and his bat, he was a DH until his bat played until the very end. While it wasn't like pretty, he still could go out there and get a hit. And I think the way that Manny's swing is and the way his bat plays, if he has a 3 or 4 really good more seasons here coming up here, then you're not looking at the end of his career where he's got to hit 165 hits in this final season to get 3,000. So it's going to be difficult, but I do think that he has a pretty good opportunity to get there. And the cool thing is, if you're a Padres fan, it will likely be in a Padres uniform. He's not going anywhere. They're not trading him. He's got a no trade, and he's already planted roots here in San Diego. He built a house in Coronado. He's part owner of SDFC. He is going to be remembered in his career as a San Diego Padre, not as a Baltimore Oriole, not as a Dodger, as a San Diego Padre. And if he gets 3,000 hits, I think it's gonna have to be here in San Diego because he's got 8 years left. 8 years left, and it's hard to imagine that after the 8 years he would go and sign a contract somewhere else. Maybe he would do it just to try to get 3,000, but if he gets 3,000 hits, he likely will get it here in San Diego. So I don't think he's going to get 3,000 hits tonight, even though I jokingly told Darnay that, hey, watch out, man. You can get 3,000 hits tonight. But towards the end of his career, I think he's going to have a good shot. And he's going to get close, I can tell you that. If he stays healthy, continues to post, he'll get close. I don't think it's a slam dunk he'll get over 3K, but he'll definitely get close. All right, coming up next, we'll wrap up the show. Also, we'll give you my back page. All that coming up next on Jon and Jim, right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, wrapping up a Tuesday here on Jon and Jim. Tomorrow, Kevin Acee will join the show, hopefully talking about a Padres win. Padres D-backs 6:40 tonight, game 2 of their series. One player tonight that I'm going to just go on the limb, Brent, and I'm just gonna say it. He's gonna have a great night. That's Fernando Tatis Jr. Have you seen his numbers against Merrill Kelly? They are fantastic. Over his career, 377 with 4 home runs against Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly pitching tonight against the Padres. If there's one player on this team that needs to have a breakout game, it's Fernando Tatis Jr. He, can you have, I don't know, a double, a home run, and 3 RBIs tonight? Too much to ask, maybe. But his career numbers against Merrill Kelly would signal that tonight is a good night. If you're betting on somebody in this Padres lineup to have a good night, it's Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando's leading off tonight once again for the Padres. Jackson Merrill moved down in the lineup to 5th. Luis Arraez moved back up to the 2 spot in this lineup. But Fernando Tatis Jr., man, his career against Merrill Kelly, really, really good. Of course, I just jinxed the hell out of him, and he's going to go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts tonight against Merrill Kelly. But if not, then you're welcome. I called it, even though it's not really hard to call because his numbers are great against Merrill Kelly. So hopefully that happens tonight. Padres D-back 6:40 first pitch there. All right, Brent, let's wrap up the show. Let's get to this. All right, so technically, Superman is out in theaters. Technically, because if you are an Amazon Prime member, you could go get tickets to an early screening of Superman tonight at AMC Theaters. Now, I looked at this, Brent, and I could have gone. 7 p.m. was like the earliest tickets available for Amazon Prime members. And I asked Aaron, I'm like, you want to go to see Superman? She goes, because I'm gone this weekend. So I can't go Friday or Saturday. And I've created a monster with Aaron by bringing her to the lot in Liberty Station. You know the lot, right?
Yeah.
Great theater. The lounge chairs. You can order food at your seat. You can order a cocktail in most movie screenings if you're 21 and over. So I go, yeah, do you want to go watch Superman tonight? Because we're not going to be here this weekend, right? She goes, yeah, sure. What time? And I go, 7 p.m. at the AMC in Chula Vista near our house. She looks at me. She goes, so not the fancy theater? I'm like, no, not the fancy theater. And she's like, well, I want to go to the fancy theater because I don't know what's going on in the movie, and I want to order food that's right around dinner time. I was like, oh. So I've created a monster with my wife. She only will want to go to the fancy theater in Liberty Station.
To be fair, since it's AMC, you would have had till 7:30.
So would have what?
You would have had till 7:30.
That's true. That's true.
AMC,
Yes.
if they say the movie starts at 7, no, the previews start at 7, and then you got to sit through,
Right.
literally 30 minutes of previews and Nicole Kidman telling us how cool theaters are.
But it wasn't even about the time. It was about like the dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted to go to the lot at Liberty Station because of the dinner. And so I'm like, look, we're not going to have time this weekend because we're going to be in Las Vegas unless you want to go like Sunday night. But still, I want to see this movie. Basically, what I'm getting to is the movie is out now. People have seen it. Brent, this is no spoilers. Would you be okay if I announced the Rotten Tomato score of this movie right now, or would that impact?
You can do it. I'll mute you.
Okay, so Brent's not going to listen. So the Rotten Tomato score of this movie is a certified fresh 86% for the new Superman movie. So what that basically is saying is, hey, it's a good movie. Now, it's all subjective, but I think that's pretty cool. Superman, if you're going to go watch it this weekend, odds are you're going to enjoy it because it has got a 86% Rotten Tomato score, certified fresh on Rotten Tomato. All right, Brent, I'm done. You're going to turn okay, there you go. So, wasn't a spoiler, but I know Brent, he doesn't want to know like literally anything about the movie.
No, dude, I've been muting Dairy Queen commercials this week.
Seriously? Wow. Yeah, Dairy Queen is one of the sponsors.
Yeah, I doubt that the birthday cake Superman Blizzard is going to have any impact on the plot of the movie, but I don't care. They might show a clip.
It might. You see a clip of Crypto, the dog, and you're like, nope, can't do it. So Comic-Con will be here in a couple of weeks. And usually around Petco Park, they have a bunch of like activation stations for Comic-Con. And they're really cool. They're really fun. If you have never been to Comic-Con before and you don't have tickets, it's hard to get tickets because you have to get them like months in advance. And if you forgot and you want to go to Comic-Con, there's still a bunch of things to do at Comic-Con around Petco Park. And one of the things at Petco Park this year is Batman in concert, Brent.
Oh, yeah, I seen that.
Batman 1989. So the original Batman, the Tim Burton Batman in 1989 brings Gotham to San Diego for Comic-Con weekend. So Batman fans can fittingly hear the iconic line from Tim Burton's 1989 superhero film Under the Night Sky during an outdoor concert experience that takes place during San Diego Comic-Con weekend. The Batman 1989 in concert returns to San Diego on Saturday, July 26th at Gallagher Square. It features a screening of the classic Warner Brothers picture film Batman, which stars Michael Keaton. And during the concert experience, guests will be treated to a live orchestra of 50 musicians performing the score composed by legendary Danny Elfman as they watch the film. I think this is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
The music will be synced to all the iconic scenes and lines performed on screen. Tickets for Batman in concert at Gallagher Square are available for purchase right now. Prices range from $57 to $100. Gates open at 7 p.m. and the film will begin at 8:30 p.m. and it runs 2 hours and 6 minutes long. Okay, might have to look at that to do.
Well, they're doing something similar at the Rady Shell too, with like the Infinity Saga, to where they're having like a orchestra play like all the score and everything, and they're gonna sync it up with like clips from the movies and everything.
Here's the thing: I looked at tickets for that.
Yeah,
if you want good tickets, like not front row, but like say middle, right? You're dropping $200. It's pretty pricey because it's not about the actual experience, or not the experience, but the music. It's about the Rady Shell, because the Rady Shell is awesome. I've yet to go to any event at the Rady Shell, but tickets are pretty pricey. I'm looking at tickets right now for Gallagher Square. You can get lateral left tickets for $57, lateral right tickets for $57. If you want to sit center front, Brent, it's $100. Center back is $89, and upper level is $76. So if you want to go and watch Batman 1989, the original Batman by Tim Burton, and have an orchestra play, you can go to Petco Park and watch it at Gallagher Square. So I think that's pretty cool. And finally, let me just pull this up here as we inch towards the end of the show. McDonald's, Brent, is bringing back the snack wrap, officially returning on July 10th. So that will be on Thursday. It's priced at $2.99. Snack wrap is officially back at McDonald's. They made a huge fuss of it online. It kind of blew up, but the online buzz has created McDonald's to bring back the snack wrap on Thursday, July 10th for $2.99. Pretty convenient. I think that's a good price. They have the $5 meal deal there. I know it's like a double cheeseburger and 4 chicken nuggets and fries and a small drink. It's pretty good.
I haven't been to McDonald's in forever.
Yeah, McDonald's is, even though there's one down the street, I haven't been there in a while.
Dude, I've been doing a lot of Wendy's, man.
Wendy's near your house?
Yeah. They got new Frosties, man.
Love me a Frosty. All right. Thanks to Brent. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Annie for joining us earlier this afternoon. If you missed any of the show, just go to the podcast center. Go to sportssd.com on the iHeartRadio app. Just download Jon and Jim. Put us in your presets. All our podcasts, all our hours, interviews are there on the podcast page. Kevin Acee will join us coming up on tomorrow's show. We'll recap Padres D-backs game 2 tomorrow starting at 2. Until then, have a great rest of your night, everybody.